Welcome in, everybody, to week number 6 of the VCS English. It's insane. We're nearly through the entirety of the season, Mobby. I feel like every single week we just kick things off, and then I end up finishing the week, and then I go, oh wow, that week was really fast because we've done exactly 2 days, and then we're almost done with the entire split as we're starting off week number 6. Still, not everybody is dead in playoffs. We do have our first confirmed playoff team with Gamma Esports, and everybody else is chasing the second, third, fourth spots and trying not to get relegated, all that fun stuff as we're coming into the end of the split. Even our last place team is not dead in playoffs yet, which is shocking. Today might change that, but we've got plenty to talk about in that regard. I'm Rebel Fox alongside Mobby. How are we doing today, Mobby?
Not too bad. If we sort of came into this day with, it's a bit of a low-key day today. We've got a few of the bottom teams to get through. But as you said, nobody is technically out of playoffs, especially since MBE, MGN Box Esports, was able to find a huge upset over Cerberus last week on Sunday. It means that potentially, we can keep the run. It's a very specific thing that has to happen, yes. And there's no more Zodiac birthday boy buff. But maybe. I mean, Team Secret's a good place to start. They are the next in the standings, so if you can knock them down, we can see the run.
There's a lot of things that have to happen. 2 things have to happen today just to keep that one run alive, and we are in the first day of the split. So number 1, Box Esports obviously has to go undefeated. That goes without saying, right? Team Secret's going to have to lose. SPTCE is also, they are not a fan of Box Esports because SPTCE has to lose every single series from here on out in order to really make this work. Same with Saigon Buffalo. Basically, Saigon Buffalo has to beat SPTCE and then lose every other series all the way out. And then Box Esports has to win the race against Flash and Secret in order to make it. So again, very, very specific. Their fate is out of their hands. 1 win from SPTCE, and they're out of playoffs officially at that point. But given last week, it is exciting to see at least the possibility that they might be competing for, maybe not being in relegation. And Team Secret, honestly, with all the changes that they've kind of made, they look like a little bit of a different roster. And they themselves, I think, are also fighting to stay out of relegations on its own. So, see, I don't know that either of these teams are going to be worse than a VCSB team. But what I do know is that it would suck to have either one of them in that pressured of a situation.
Yeah, I mean, haven't really had a chance to look at the VCSB teams, and maybe we get our own version of a dumb one or a Griffin coming up the ranks and they just smurf on everybody. But that's very unlikely. So you imagine a team like Team Secret should be fine, even though they've been experimenting. They've gone through so many junglers. They've even swapped out their top laner, and despite Hero being one of the best laning top laners in the split, he wasn't able to really have that impact in the team fights, convert that lead across the rest of the map. So they've tried Kratos. He's played pretty well, a little bit quiet in some of the games, but he has been able to show up big in the team fights, and I think that is kind of what Team Secret is looking for, so I think they might stick with the Kratos Kiang lineup.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't think I would hate that either, because those two have at least added an air of electricity to Team Secret's roster that just has not been there. It felt like they were missing kind of at the beginning of the split, even if it hasn't led to the most successful results. Like, to me, it's just about what gives you confidence, what gives you like kind of hope going forward. In the same way that a bunch of other teams have kind of made some swaps that they've been sticking with for the majority of the split. It doesn't shock me that Team Secret has found the secret recipe that works for them. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be laughing beyond comparison if we saw 3 jungle subs during the course of the series and then they just decided to play another one a little bit later down the road. So both of us, I think, are on the Kiang train. I think Kiang has been an amazing rookie this split. When it comes to rookie junglers, that's going to be the case. But how does Team Secret find wins then? Because that's the thing that's kind of eluded them over the last few weeks. So what does Team Secret need to do to actually start winning games?
What does Team Secret need to do to start winning games? They need to really solidify. So I found a lot of the time they've had a lack of real direction into the early mid game. They've had some decent laning performances out of Artifact and of Hero as well in the past, but they've sort of struggled to sort of go beyond that. They've struggled in skirmishes. They've struggled to get the map rotations. they played it with Kratos in. They played a bit to the side lane a little bit more. He was sort of always applying a pressure point in side lanes and then showing up for a team fight towards the end when it mattered. But I still think their macro is where they're definitely at their weakest. And I guess MBE macro has also been a bit of a struggle for this team, which you'd reasonably expect considering it's pretty much rookies. Nuga's played one split, Zodiac's played a couple, but yeah, otherwise.
Feeling fine. So then what is Box's strategy walking into today then? Because if you're Box and you have your back against the wall and you say, okay, you have to win every single series from here on out, you know, if you were put in that situation as Box's coach, like, what is your generalized strategy walking into every single week? Because obviously you're not going to have a one size fits all, you know, every single series is going to be fine. But like, if you had to take a wild shot at the dark of, okay, what is Box going to do against Team Secret here today? Like, what is the one place, or what is your secret tech to be able to cook up a victory, to be able to kick off this playoff run as we start in week 6?
Going off what they sort of played against Cerberus, we had champions, a late game carry for Nugu, a safe carry for the side of slows, engage on Zodiac, a early to mid game skirmishing jungle for Tomrio, and then Sunma just kind of hanging out. He can kind of do whatever he wants as long as he doesn't fall too far behind. So a tank top laner probably works best for him. Mm-hmm. And with that sort of setup, you're looking at pretty much the most mundane, stereotypical, what does each League of Legends role provide in a team comp? This. And I think the only thing you have to really concern yourself with is, can you keep slow safe? Can he actually contribute to the fight? Because we've seen a lot of times, especially early on the split, they tried to play lane dominance for the bot lane. That would get crushed, that would get put so far behind, and then slows really couldn't contribute. So I'm enjoying the priority on Zyra Khan, where he gets to play safe. He can sort of scale up to 2 or 3 items, and then he's online. He can actually do a decent amount of damage, and then anything beyond that, you leave to Nuke. You put him on LeBlanc, you put him on Azir. Somehow he's playing Azir. But yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of options here, I think, on both sides, and we're looking forward to Box Esports sticking to their milquetoast strategy that worked last week as we step into the draft for game number 1 here to kick off our week number 6. It is going to be Kratos, which is of interest, at least in my convey. I don't know. Hero has been good for the last couple of years, so it was surprising last week when the step down came through, and they're like, okay, let's try out Kratos, which is that's happened to a couple of very, very veteran players. Think about like Ego is not being able to play over Drakthar. You think about Guri taking over for BJ, and now Kratos kind of taking over Hero. It's a little wild to see the number of veterans that have been like really good over the last couple of years just kind of get kicked down past everything else. As we're started off, nothing crazy. A lot of Box Esports champions from last week that were successful. Both junglers, in fact, got kicked out in the Lee Sin and the Wukong. The Sejuani is kicked off with a Vi as the response is the 3rd best jungler here, the next one for Tomrio.
Yeah, they went for the Sejuani, which I think makes a lot of sense with the ability to flex. Summer Hat did show that Sejuani top in their match against Cerberus. Wasn't so hot in lane, but it provided what it needed to do in the team fight. So I sort of understand that sort of takeaway. It's also a decent early game jungler that Tomrio could perform on. But as it is, they're just sort of playing it so far what we've sort of expected. Mid to an early to mid game jungler, a engaged support. Now it's up to what Secret wants to do to sort of figure themselves out. They banned the Sire, so I mean, I guess Zeri is always available, so is Lucian. But I'm interested to see where they land. Zeri on Eddie makes a lot of sense.
It does, because this is a champion that has like juiced Eddie's stats unnecessarily at the beginning of the split. But on the other hand, you now have 2 point-and-click ultimates from like frontliners that like just devastate the Zeri. Like, you've got Nautilus ultimate and you've got Vi ultimate, which both track. It doesn't matter how mobile you're going to be, you're just going to get tracked down. You do get the Leona alongside, which is this is an old school combination just to throw a Leona into a situation like this against the Nautilus, which is like it was a really good counter pick for some time, and then I don't think it's anywhere near as good as it was. And immediately we go back to Jinx for slows, which you were talking about slows having some safety, some peel for themselves, maybe some mobility. I always think about Xayah and Kaisa as the two that I'm like, okay, even the worst positioning players can probably not have to worry with those two champions because they have so many tools to get themselves out of dodge. Jinx just doesn't have that, especially against a Sejuani and a Leona. So we're out of the realm of slows being able to self-peel here.
Yeah, he's gonna have some safety against maybe some follow-up with the traps, but yeah, you're really gonna have to maybe look to Zodiac to sort of play a bit more of a peel role, unless you have something in mind for Sunma who can just sort of stand up and in front of the Jinx and sort of soak for him. Maybe a Scion can come on out. That works a bit better as a peel tank than something like a Malphite, for example. But as it is mid lane, it looks to be the Titan. That makes a lot of sense. Nugu's been a big part of MBE's recent success. Artifact historically has been fantastic, so lots of the big ticket mid lane is being taken away. We might end up in a sort of a Zia Victor sort of situation with how much target's been going on. What else is down the tier list at this point?
LeBlanc is there. Rise is still around. Vigar is still around.
Vega, of course. Yes, I forgot about Vega.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vigar lock-in probably on the side of Secret, because I'm not 100% sure if you want to set up the Vega line pick.
Yeah, I think we've seen it too many times for it to not be under consideration. But yeah, if I were Boxy Sports, I would be picking a tank top. I would just be picking Scion, or I'd be picking Cassante or something like that here. Oh, okay, never mind. I guess we're counter picking for Sunmer now, unless it's a top Rise, which I would be down for. But
yeah, I was gonna say unless we're still waiting to see where that Sejuani is going, I guess technically, because not wanting to pick something and then end up having to play into Sedge. But it's not like there's anything really standing out in the jungle pool left to take, so it should just be Sedge for Kyung. And this is a artifact sort of special. He's been picking this up against Rise quite a lot, and it's another big scaling carry for the side of Team Secret to work with. So as the late game comes in, it's a lot of consistent damage, and Barons should melt.
Very much so. You've got that and the Zeri to be able to put out all your damage because you've got 3 massive frontliners otherwise. Part of me almost wants the Vayne to get slammed here just so that we have some kind of countering to these massive tank frontliners that are just going to be trying to smother this team and buy space for the Zeri and the Cassiopeia. But we both know that Sunmer is not going to play it, almost certainly. I almost wouldn't hate Kennen either because they have a lot of kind of forward fighting pressure that they, like, worst case, Kennen kind of just like flashes into the team, presses the ultimate, and then at least splits the 2 carries off from the fight. Instead, we get the Gnar, which feels like it could have been an R4 pick and they wouldn't have lost literally anything for it. So
yeah, I hate Gnar. Gnar is kind of one of those chambers where I truly do not think it's, if you're picking Gnar, you should be able to pick something else and do the job much better. And I almost would have liked to see maybe a Gragas for Sunma, if nothing else, to be a way to sort of disrupt that front line and give you access to the Cassiopeia, to the Zeri, perhaps. But in the end, it's going to be Gnar, and we're going to have to see, can Sunma find mistakes? Can he punish what Team Secret wants to do? Or will Team Secret be able to ward their angles, trigger the Gnar bar before he's ready, and just do those sort of things that turn Gnar into a glorified cannon minion?
Now, out of fairness, Gnar is one of the 2 champions that Sunmer has found a win on. I feel like if it were a different top laner, though, we would have been having a different discussion of Kennen would have been an option. Malphite should have probably been an option. I love Malphite and Azeri because you press Q on her and then you say goodbye to your move speed, bud. Little stuff like the little tiny interactions like that feel like there were better options than Gnar in this situation. But if they feel comfortable playing it, I feel like they're just thrusting everything into Nugu here, which is fair. Nugu had an MVP performance, not just like an MVP in the series performance, just an MVP performance of the league last week when Box was able to take the first series. So hedging everything on that Rise bet as we're getting onto the Rift here. In game number 1 of week 6, Box Esports trying to live for their playoff life, trying to make sure that they are not in relegation, just fighting for everything that they can scrap for here up against Team Secret, who is also sitting in the cellar of the league. One of these two walk away with another big win to get them advanced in the standings. Given that we only have we got 5
2 weeks left. Yeah,
2 weeks. What is after today? We have 3 days this week, and then 8 days next week, or 5 days the week after. So we got like 8 days after this week, or after today alone.
Yeah, we've got 8 days left of the regular season, and that's sort of going to be excluding today, of course. And this is going to be, it's do or die. Every series matters for MBE in terms of the playoffs thing, which, of course, we're not necessarily expecting that, but it is important one way or another. Artifact waddling, but can Zodiac find the hook? Not actually going to try, just wants to drop that ward. This saves the ward for Nuga, which means if he wants to, after he can get an early shove, should have it in the first few levels. It gets to be online with that EQ a little bit faster than Artifact's wave clears, so can use that to sort of push in the wave, maybe find Kyung a little bit later on, and make sure that Sejuani can't get off to a good start.
All right. I still have a distaste for the Nautilus support, which I'm going to transition into saying that Nautilus Jungle got played recently, and I would like to have that back. So if at some point the VCS would do me the honor of putting Penguin back in this league so that we could have some gremlin junglers, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Who played Nautilus Jungle?
I don't remember who it was. I want to say there was an LPL team that did it, but I could be wrong about that. I just remember somebody played Nautilus Jungle very recently, as that's a hook quickly onto Eddie. Punished for his early game transitions.
Slow's not quite able to land those chompers, so it's just going to be wave pressure, wave control for MBE. I like how they sort of tried to hold the wave a little bit so that there was an angle for that hook instead of the perma-shove for level 2.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is now, just going to be control over this bot side as both junglers make their way down. Could be a cause of concern. Artifact actually finding the push in mid lane though, so...
Yes.
Well, and for the side of Team Secrets.
All right,
respond pretty well.
What is your opinion on this Ryze versus Cassiopeia matchup? Because I've got one, but I want to know what yours is.
I would have thought. I mean, I'm not the most up to date with my Cassiopeia matchups, but I would have thought Ryze has a bit of a chance early to get some shove, perhaps get some roams off, but. Shouldn't be too bad has to get away from Artifact because of course W can cancel a ultimate roam, and of course Artifact can chew through the sort of standard tanky build of the Ryze.
Mm-hmm. I was waiting to see if Kiang was going to make a move into mid lane, but decides not to do so. It was not LPL. My apologies. It was NACL. It was the Challengers League in North America. Rosethorn absolutely went crazy on it. There's a couple others. I think Audi, if you remember Audi from LLA, Audi also played it. So, and both of them won on it. This was not just like a random occurrence of like a single Nautilus jungle that just like ended up getting like gooned. Like there were 2 victories on this champion. It's not the most ridiculous thing in the world. Ridiculous yet, but not the most ridiculous. Which is why we want Penguin back in the lineup, because Penguin played Yasuo jungle. I'm certain that he played Nautilus jungle too.
That was the DNK special, the Nautilus.
Oh, it was DNK. My bad, not Penguin.
The other famous secret jungler.
Yes.
It was not on secret anymore, but
no,
I believe he was at the time. So it's all coming up fine. It's all Gucci. Zodiac still going for that. On that note, though, Zodiac is going for the Q-Max, wants to be able to make more plays instead of what I'm assuming is making the jungle viable, the E-Max, given how much extra damage was put onto that.
Yes.
In the recent patches.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, someone has to be careful.
A little bit. Still has E, still has Hop. Yeah, there's the E. Able to get decent distance right there. Nice attempt from Kratos with the Ghost to be able to dash in, find a Q. So, gonna force out the flash from Sunmer. So it's our first real bout of action in this game, Mobby. Everything else has been relatively slow. Tom Rio actually, I think, makes a great call. They had just gotten a back from their bot lane, so Slows and Zodiac were first on the map, which means that the bottom lane was already looking like a great opportunity for a dragon. So with that gank into the top side, very easy first strike here coming through for Box Esports.
Yeah, trading Ghost for flash trade is pretty nice. That should be up much faster, and you can, of course, you still have the flash on the Sejuani, so you can easily make a return gank. Nuki, give him the how you doing, how you doing here, and now Kian gonna try and link up with Zuhao, and if they can maybe find something on the way back, but easily spot out by the Scryer's Bloom, and not much is gonna get done. They just support sort of waving at each other in the river and hovering for the mid lane.
Yeah, that was of I suppose that Zodiac's not soaking experience away from Slows, which is fine. Okay, actually is solid play coming through from Tom Rio using the Q after being tagged by Zuya to pull him into his own jungle, but there's just no follow-up. Skiang was here as well, no movement ability from Nugu. Sunmer has Kratos on the ultimate from Kratos. Yeah, gonna put him through the wall. He has the damage. Now Sunmer has to leave. Gets really close. One more boomerang might be the doom of Kratos with that auto attack. But unfortunately, Sunmer is just so low that I don't think Kratos is really that worried about it at the moment. Fleet Footwork's going to keep him up a little bit. Yeah, Kratos is just going to leave and make sure that Sunmer pays respects to the king, as that is going to be an easy way for Cassante to get out of a really bad situation. Looked like Sunmer had him on the ropes, but simply press the ult button. That's enough for that's enough for the death to be threatened. All that healing coming on now had timed it well with Summer's Rage Bar, so Summer couldn't really get back into it, and Kratos was able to heal himself up pretty. Okay, hold on. Oh, now bottom side Zodiac getting run down at the beginning of the game, and Eddie gets first blood. Now Slows is probably going to die as well. Actually presses the cleanse, and he's able to just barely flash out of a bad situation. How in the world did they set this up? As once again, Eddie flexing the only champion that he's able to win the laning plays with somehow, which is the Zeri.
Yeah, just waiting until that level 6 mark, and then that instant burst you get from that ultimate, it's enough to catch people off guard, especially someone like Slows and Zodiac, not very tanky. Of course, Zodiac going for, the Glacial Augment doesn't really provide you a lot and lets you get run down pretty quickly. Kratos trying to step up to Sumner again, but this time Tomrio's in the area, so has to be a bit careful. And here we go, just an engage onto Zodiac.
Okay, yeah, so it was a weird little interaction too, because Leona can be stopped in the midst of her E by way of using the Nautilus Q right as the E tags, because the E itself doesn't CC you. It's not until it roots you, but it doesn't stop you from casting abilities. And so what you do to stop it is that you Q in the midst of everything. The problem is Zodiac was standing in a minion, which means that you couldn't use the Q in the way that you needed to stop the Leona engage, and ended up getting stuck there a little bit longer than I think you would have wanted, ended up taking the Q stun afterwards, and all of that led to just further CC that Zodiac was not needing to take because he was standing directly in the middle of a wave, maybe caught trying to auto a minion for a little bit. So nice little interaction, a nice punishment by Zuhao if he knew that was going to happen, because it was great forward vision, which again, of all of the champions in the entire league that Eddie could find early game advantages on, somehow this Zeri, it's just like that is the champion that Eddie is able to win with at the beginning of the game. And earlier on in the split had just an absurd stat line on this champion, so much so that it actually pulls his damage per game up by 200 or something like that, some ridiculous stat in that regard. So Eddie finding some success on one of his favorite champions.
Yeah, also the joys of playing Nautilus into Zeri, no matter what you do, you try and run away with your shield. You just give her a little bit more power to work with because of her other passive. She has many passive, but all in all, yeah, Eddie's just able to pop off repeatedly on this champion. It's almost surprising that we're seeing things like Karma and Caitlyn and Varus as the ban choices over Zeri, because it feels like this is the one he can play safely on. He doesn't need to actually flex his ability in lane. He sort of knows the angles on it and can find advantages, but he doesn't need to. He can perform well late. They're trying to bait this in, but Eddie is just staying at arm's length, using that extendo beam to just farm from distance. And okay, maybe they're trying.
Ooh, What a pull. And that's an ultimate combo coming through. Now Tamrio not quite fast enough to pull the trigger. I feel like if you're Tamrio, you just charge Q, flash ultimate, and you make sure that Eddie dies right there. I know it does buy them a plate. They didn't lose anything. Tamrio's still going to be here for the coverage. Zhu Hao is just going to hang around for a quick second, but Eddie cannot stay. Should buy maybe another full plate as well for slows, equalizing those turret plates on the bottom side of the map. No, they're actually going to use it just to go to Dragon, which I think... All right, that's perfectly fine. They're going to grab up their second neutral objective of the game here for Box Esports. Going to be able to set up for this soul point. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what they just did. I would kind of would have wished that they would have gone for the extra plate onto the Jinx, but you know what? I think that's perfectly fine. I think the Dragon is going to give them a lot of late game agency that they didn't have before.
Yeah, and if you think back to their win against Cerberus, it was Dragon control, especially in the first game, which really set them above what Cerberus wanted to do. They were misstepping a little bit, of course, were the dogs, but MBE having that extra tempo, having that extra pressure, let them have a bit more freedom in that sort of mid game, late game, where they could afford a bit of a slip up and just give over one thing, and that should be safe from Kyung.
Okay, interesting. Well. Yeah, Kyung is just going after the opposing support in their own jungle. There's no camps here either, Kyung. So, like, Kyung is just here to set up for some pushing power for Eddie on the bottom side of the map. They've got a forward ward, they've got Zhu Hao, they've got Artifact. Yeah, they're just trying to collapse on this tower, which makes all too much sense here. Very, very simple. Kyung also has the Rift Herald readily available. Tamrio's going to head up this way, too. I wouldn't be shocked to see, they do just dump the Rift Herald, as it's going to be first blood on the tower. With Eddie picking up this gold, with Kyung picking up this gold, split between the two of them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's Team Secret who understands like how to set up their bot laner here, which I think is the right play. Again, they're dumping gold into Eddie, whereas Box Esports, they went for that Dragon instead of trying to put additional gold into this Jinx. That was just Slows being an annoying little pest right there as the ultimate gets dropped. Maybe trying to set up for a fight of some kind because Nugu has ultimate, but not enough mana afterwards, I think, to take anything crazy. So Box Esports, again, these are some of the macro plays, some of the macro woes we were talking about now. Slow's probably going to die. Here comes Zodiac, though. Nice hook. Zodiac. Okay. Yeah, no. Eddie's going to lose, or Eddie's going to win the 1v1. My apologies. I wasn't trying to say lose, just trying to say win the 1v1. Now Zhu Hao is going to lock up Zodiac most likely before Eddie can come back. Tamrio is around. Could just go down onto the one, but Artifact's going to be here alongside Nugu. Kyung is here as well, so it's a 4v3 right here, right now. Ultimate to slow down Zodiac, has to flash over the wall. Tamrio as well goes over the wall with a Q, as that's Box Esports yet again getting punished on a macro scale. That is a huge win. Bottom lane gets absolutely destroyed, and then Slows works way too far up, ends up getting run down by just a 1v1 in the ADC versus ADC matchup.
Yeah, just a little Eddie just coming out on advantages, and even now, Crosses has started to turn the top side around. He's tanky enough to walk up and actually get those demolish procs, and someone's going to try and run him down with Hyper, but this is just an interesting choice from Slows. They sort of predicted it was going to happen, but the dash over the wall and the engage range from Zodiac, Zhu Hao rather, being able to actually influence that fight a little bit before Zodiac could. Mm-hmm. It turns out for the side of Slows, and also Shield Bow is just actually really strong. You don't do as much damage, but it's more than makes up for it with that passive. So Slows just caught out, Slows just run down. And Team Secret starting to win across the entire map, 1,400 gold in plates alone. They've gotten a few kills on top of that, and MBE they're definitely reading what Team Secret are wanting to do, but then they're just walking into it and giving them everything anyway. Like in that play down bot with the Rift Herald, they backed off. They were aware Kyung and Artifact were making their way over. Then they brought Tamrio and Nugu to just faff about in jungle and not actually achieve anything instead of maybe trying to push for some plates in mid. Zodiac's going to run into Zhu Hao, but shouldn't amount to anything. Oh,
coverage from Sunmer here, as the Meganar is going to wear off soon enough. Backed. Actually, interesting. Okay, and that is going to lead to an ultimate immediately onto Zodiac, who's going to be able to hook out of there. But again, Team Secret are just bullying them around the map, as Box Esports has had no response. Eddie's literally just walking up the towers. They're putting two people on top of him, and they're saying, okay, you can either team fight us right now, or we can just take the tower, get more gold over to our ADC. allow Eddie to continue to be this early game monster for some reason on the Zeri pick, because that's going to be the second full tower after first tower, first blood, second kill of the game, and now another tower as well as all the plates that were taken up. I mean, it's going to be like 2 items Zeri at 15 minutes into this game the next time that Eddie decides to back.
Yeah, and Tomahawk just hasn't been able to find anything really at all. He hasn't even tried anything. That's the saddest part. I don't mind as much if he attempted something and then flubbed it, but he sort of hovered around topside once. He hovered around in response to Kyung and then sat too far back to actually get involved. He's been able to pick up some of these dragons, but I feel at this point they're not going to be able to contest this third one since they're 4k down. And as we move further and further along, Kratos and Kyung, this Kasante and Sejuani, they're going to love quad stack Mountain Drake. That's for sure. Zuhao as well. Yeah, there's just good luck, Slows. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, trying to fight into 2 of the best consistent damage carries in the entire game with Mountain Soul, especially Quadrastack Mountain Soul, like you were attesting to, is an absurd concept here. Think about that. Think about a Zeri with basically like 30%, 40% extra damage reduction that just shouldn't exist alongside the shield. But think about Cassiopeia sitting with 4,000 health and also having like 120, 130 armor magic resist without building any extra. Like it's a little absurd to think about what this team is going to be able to do. And so Box has to figure out what their strategy is, because they're still a ways out from anything doing. Slows had a Kerchiss shard just a few minutes ago.
Which he sold for a Zeal.
He sold it? I wasn't sure if maybe he had returned it and I was just on that pack right now because it's too early in the morning, but I was hoping that was the case because it would be weird to buy that and then sell it immediately for the Zeal.
I assume that it was, because I'm fairly sure I saw him out. I saw the Kerchiss shard, but I'm fairly sure I saw him out of base with it.
I thought so too.
It had to go somewhere, and it doesn't go into a Zeal. I think he's kind of found himself autopiloting into the rapid fire cannon before realizing, actually, maybe I kind of need to go for something a little bit earlier. Maybe I need the Phantom Dancer. Maybe I just sit on a Zeal and build an actual item that does damage. I don't know.
The reason I bring this up is because Slows is already down so much, so losing, even if it's only like 100, 150, 200 gold or something for the Kerchiss shard's return, or the selling of the Kerchiss shard, it's still so much that it's just like, that's more gold you're effectively giving to Eddie. That's gold advantage that Eddie is getting for absolutely no reason other than you messing up the build path that you want to go for here, which was wrong in general. Like, Rapid Fire Cannon does nothing. Phantom Dancer and Runance both have a lot of value in this game. But Rapid Fire Cannon is, I can hit somebody one time from further range with a big rocket, sure, but then afterwards you don't do much. That is an immediate play on Eddie, is they find a really good combination, but also Kiang slams the door, and Sunmer puts one into the wall. That's going to be an ultimate onto the Minion, who's just going to go down. Actually, he flashes out, but that is going to be Xante alongside Eddie going in. Zodiac now also going to get run down on the front line, as it's 5 members of Secret showing up to the party. Rift Herald number 2. Shirley's going to be able to crack this tower. They don't even need it to crack this tower. They're going to be going for the second one up mid lane. And what are you supposed to do right here? They just don't have the damage to be able to fight this team. Nugo and Slows trying to clear the way to the best of their abilities, but have not been able to do so. Finally, 66% of this tower gone completely in just a swift strike. Team Secret nearly do enough damage for Box Esports to be reeling in kind. Oh, Tom Rio, he fancies himself another fight. I don't know that I would have taken this against Kratos on his own, let alone that Zuhao is here, but all right, yeah, good job, Tom Rio. We finally pulled off a little bit.
All right, Kratos can't actually find an angle there, but they go in onto Eddie. It doesn't really work out because the collapse is good, and Eddie's still able to contribute pretty effectively with all these lasers, and Sunma tries to exist as Mega Gnar, gets a pretty mediocre ult, and then transforms back into the kill me mode. Zodiac tries to bail him out and hooks Kratos in, and that's just handing the Nautilus over on a silver platter, so that's 2 more kills. It's only 4 kills, but it's a 5,000 gold lead. It's pretty damn one-sided for the side of Team Secret, and I guess the hype is immediately quashed from MBE. We were hoping they could sort of, this was the sign of something, sign of a rise, but someone's gonna hop away. And now Team Secret just gets to control this jungle. They can go onto Baron pretty much at any time. They have extremely good Baron damage if they bring Zeri and Artifact down into it, Cassiopeia. But, do you want to start it up? Apparently, yes. Apparently, just yes, you do. They're going to try and maybe 2-man it, 3-man it.
They can, I think pretty
but
easily
2-man.
Okay, yeah.
With this... Oh, okay. They know what's happening, but they can't push up. They just can't get close.
Yeah, I think Team Secret just gave a really big question. Oh, actually, Zuhao goes over the wall. Kang also over the wall. They're going to find Slows. Slows just going to die. Now you've got one damage dealer. That's going to be Nugu, who does find one kill. Actually, TP into the back. Could lead to quite a bit. There's a counter TP on the other side of the map. Like you said, Sunmurray is going to be able to get something. Nugu as well. Big ultimate's going to get him out, too. Okay, it's a 2-for-2. Not the greatest exchange in the entire universe, but honestly, Slows and Zodiac have been struggling most of the games. You're fine dumping those two in exchange for 2 kills onto Nugu as maybe finally getting a win condition established somewhere on the board. Yes, Team Secret's going to get Baron. Yes, Team Secret's going to crack mid tower. Yes, Team Secret's probably going to get every outer tower after all things are said and done. But, I mean, we're not without recompense here for Box Esports. They are able to grab up this third dragon of theirs, deny Mountain Soul, or deny another Mountain Drake over to the side of Team Secret, deny them stacking Mountain Soul unless Kang just comes in for a massive steal. Should not happen. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay. And we're out.
And now we're out. There's a teleport from an Artifact, but he's without a Baron, so that's going to be all okay. And the tank's just eating up so much pressure while the carries from Team Secret go and assassinate Slows. This is a bit of an overstep because it's a good teleport from Summoner with perfect Naba. It's a bit unlucky where Kyung was, who just gets knocked to freedom, not quite flipping onto that wall. But with that, it's not like they probably didn't have the ability to knock him down anyway, given he's still pretty healthy and they were not. So they just realm warp out. And yeah, that was a 4v5 pretty much because Cassante was not there. And they don't care about having missing Barons on 2 people because they just group everybody up, push down the bot lane tower. Kratos prepares a wave earlier, and they can turn him to the mid lane.
Yeah, now, that's a big engagement potentially coming through Kang. Actually, I think that was a superior Sejuani ultimate to anything else because it slowed down 3 members. It was enough to keep them pushed back from the towers. They're able to crack down mid tower, and bottom inhibitor is gone. Mid inhibitor tower, that is. He's also gone now. I was hoping to see maybe something a little bit more electric. Sunmir's Narbar does kind of push them off, though. As they still to be terrified, Nugu is still very powerful. If you can't jump onto him, you have to be at least a little bit cautious. Tamriel continues to be on these edges, but just has never been able to find a perfect angle to be able to go. And what a play from Artifact! Finds 3 kills! And just like that, the game is over. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. Okay, wait a minute. Slows does get excited here for a second. Auto attack goes, but Eddie is Eddie. Come on, he's on his #1 champion. Ultimate from Tamriel is going to be able to kick Eddie out. Not quite going to go down to the tower as Kratos' ultimate is going to give him enough damage to be able to bring down Tamriel. Now Summer, the only one remaining on the map. I do not think Sunmer is going to be able to hold right here. He does have 3 minion waves. Maybe they can stop them from taking the Nexus Tower. Honestly, if I were Team Secret, I would be trying to finish the game right here, right now against Sunmer. Everybody's low. They do have to be quite a bit more cautious. There's the ultimate. Artifact is not even going to get knocked down a quarter of his health bar. As they're going to have to leave now. I mean, okay, they do get 1 Nexus Tower. They get both bot and mid inhibitors. You're up 10,000 gold. Team Secret's not going to lose this game at this point.
I saw the insta-quadra angle from Sunma, but he doesn't flash aggressively for it to get the 4-man knock into the Nexus. He just knocks a couple, clears the wave, and overall that's probably the smarter play. It saves the game for now. It is 1 Nexus Tower remaining, and Team Secret are going to back right now and spend a lot of gold. That is now a very tanky Kyung on 2 items, a very tanky Artifact with 3 health items and a Oblivion Orb on top of that. This is just really nice setup. We don't get to see the Artifact engage, but
that's literally the whole play.
It's really good.
It was so good. I don't know how Artifact found 4 people staring right at him out of nowhere, but somehow and in some way, Artifact makes the MVP engage go on. As that, again, to me, that cripples the game. The game is dead now. Like, there's no way Box Esports is going to come back in any capacity now. It's off the back of Artifact's amazing, like good damage and amazing everything else. there's 3 tanks on this team. There's 2 damage dealers, and Artifact and Eddie are outdealing every single member on box combined. Like, you've got a Gnar top lane, you've got a Vi in the jungle, you've got Ryze, you've got Jinx. All 4 combined are not dealing the damage that Eddie and Artifact are in the game like this, which is just insane to think about.
Yeah, and we're coming up to this point. I'm just like, okay, they're gonna try and kill Kratos. Can they kill Kratos?
No shot. Ult?
No.
Anything? No? Kratos is gonna get
though.
locked up? Okay.
The hyper is enough. But even that said, it's 1 minute till the next dragon. That might give you a little glimmer of hope for MBE, but even then, it's just not going to happen. Not against Eddie. Eddie's going for his last whisper now, so the extra resistances aren't going to matter. He gets the shields you have go to him. He gets free shields off you. So, yeah, it's kind of... It might actually work against your favor to pick up the Drake and get that soul in some ways, but that's kind of all you've got left to hope for. And just pick that up. Maybe try and blow up Eddie, and then hope the resistances carry you through against Artifact. Because I mean, you don't have to worry too much about the tanks. They're just going to be nuisances. They're not. Kratos could kill you because you're not the tankiest lineup, but he has to go all out for that, and I don't think he can cut through everyone. So, but it doesn't matter. They can't approach the dragon at all. That's going to be easy for Team Secret, and the tanks are going to get even tankier.
Team Secret says, nuts to the dragon. We're just going to go right to the Baron, which actually I appreciate Box Esports because they made this call. I was gonna postulate this. I was like, hey, just go for Baron and try to save the game if they go for dragon. But Team Secret is able to get here in time to be able to deny that type of play from going down. And honestly, if I were Box, I would try to keep them up in this topside jungle, maybe throw one person down at the dragon to contest it. Because the soul is going to be so much more valuable than a Baron is going to be. You're going to lose the Baron too fast here if you don't have somebody on the dragon right now, though. Like, I would be looking for wards to teleport to if I were Sunmer, just to challenge against the Cassiopeia to try to steal this dragon away. If I were Tomrio, I would be beelining there. There's no way you stop Baron, but they're losing both at the moment.
Yeah, you have the smite on Tomrio. Tomrio just go down there, try and make sure that Artifact can't take it, because because at the risk of the smite, but just don't. You try and find some gold through some jungle camps, and maybe if you get that second Black Cleaver, you can help do enough. You're gonna do enough to counteract that.
No,
like
no,
slows.
No,
you're not. Realistically, no, but you can.
Not even realistically, no. That was to me, Tomrio just completely
he doesn't even finish it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Tomrio has not even been he hasn't been really an active part of this game, and that to me was exemplary of exactly what we're talking about. Eddie gets flashed on by both members who have the point-and-click ultimate, has to go into stopwatch just to make sure nothing else happens. But now Eddie just gets to do as he pleases because there is no additional follow-up damage whatsoever. Gets to slide into the midst of everything, flashes to get on top of Sunmer and Nugu. Actually, Eddie jumping directly on top of Nugu is going to get eaten alive because of the disrespect given towards the Ryze, who nearly has Rabadon's completed. But damage has been done. Artifact is still alive. Nugu does not have the health for it. Oh, and Nugu steps on top of the W. That's the miasma that's going to deny Nugu any access to the base. And now the game is dead completely. There's nothing else to be said. I thought that was going to be the case as soon as Eddie picked up 3 kills right there, but now it is certainly going to be the case as mid inhibitor is down. They've got their 1 damage dealer. They've got 3 frontline tanks. They're just going to be looking to close up this tower, looking to close up the game. Here comes Zodiac. Q's in, finds Kratos. Yes, you've got Tomrio back. Okay, a lot more fight back than I thought was going to happen yet again as they're going to go in on top of everything else. Artifact needs to be able to step up to find damage. Gets Q'd in, and that's an ultimate coming out from Sunmer to pull him back into the base. And Box lives to fight another day again. Goodness gracious. They're holding, and 3 kills to slows in the midst of all of that as well. Mobby, Box is not letting go. They said we have playoffs still on the line. We're not giving up.
Yep, they buy themselves a lot more gold, but it is an exposed Nexus now. Team Secret could realistically just ball up mid lane and try again and just hit the Nexus this time. It's gonna be a little bit harder. It's it was a nice play coming out from Sunmer, and Slow is able to get the resets going. Team Secret just not playing with enough respect, and there is a lot of damage on Jinx. She's hit her 3-item power spike. She can cut through the front line, and once she did, she got the reset, and arguably the only reason it sort of wasn't as devastating was she peeled off early to try her best, as this is a huge whiff from Zodiac and Tamrio. They commit everything onto Eddie, but they commit it all at the same time, so the CC gets stacked incorrectly, and she's just fine. She's able to pop her stopwatch. She goes a little bit ham here, and doesn't respect Nugu with the with his own lifeline ability. But that pretty much signals that the game doesn't end there and there, but okay.
Ultimate right there. Okay, actually a couple of ultimates utilized, and some are not going to go down as a result of it. They still have to be careful of Artifact's ultimate, which was what their downfall was at the beginning. Now working front to back, that's going to be an engagement. Tomrio is going to find an ultimate going in. Damage on the backside. It just hasn't been enough. Kratos on the front line trying to bring down slows. And yeah, Box kept themselves alive far too long in this game, and finally they're going to be put down the way that Team Secret has been trying to do for the first couple of minutes, as Box Esports now one game away from just losing out on their chances at getting into playoffs. And Team Secret playing pretty well in that one. I have to give a lot of respect. Again, Eddie's early game dominance really did a number on them, but ultimately, I think their calling in general was superior in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we just saw pretty much Kyung be able to influence the map in multiple areas, and infinitely more than Tamrio was. Tamrio just didn't really show up at all. He had a decent scoreline towards the middle of the fight, towards the middle of the game rather, at 0-1-4, which is not bad. But yeah, it kind of just didn't really work out. The tanks were just too tanky. Slows just took too long to get online because Zeri just gets her 2-item power spike if she goes for the quick blades. Jinx just needs that Zeal item to work and then doesn't actually do damage. So it took a while. A bit of hubris meant that the game lasted longer than it needed to, but in the end, Team Secret just kind of had control the entire time. And if you're stumbling only at the Nexus, you're fine.
And the deal is that, like, Team Secret, they weren't getting pressured super hard at the beginning of the game, so they kind of just ran things for the most part. I want to see Box Esports step up and have a better early game, because it felt like that one was so quiet that it was seriously just like, oh, we'll pick up the first Rift Herald and we'll crack bottom tower, and then there's no response. Eddie just gets to do as he pleases in the bottom side of the map. And when you give that much gold over to one of the better kind of Zeri players in the league, you're certainly going to get punished more often than not. So ideas for Box Esports walking into game number 2. Do you see a better champion for Tamrio? To me, Tamrio was so passive that game that it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was definitely didn't look very comfortable on the Vi, especially in comparison to things like the Lee Sin and the Wukong have. So if you can, try and get a more comfortable jungler for Tamrio so he can be a bit more active. I think you need to be a bit more aware of trying to, were pretty good at predicting what Kyung was going to do, where he was going to be, but then they didn't try and cross-map it at all. They just tried to sort of threaten that they could respond, even when they couldn't. And Kyung and Team Secret as a whole were able to recognize that and just muscle their way into the 4v4s, 3v3s, and Tamrio's out of position and actually can't contribute, so yeah, you need to either be more aware and try to look for a cross map, or try and be more active and try and preemptively make a play before Keelan can make his way into that bot side or whatever. And also ban Zeri. That's
Ban Zeri. I like it. Yeah. A lot of good ideas.
So it doesn't matter.
Let Varus, too many teams banning out Varus and not letting Zeri through, or letting Zeri through, which is going to be disastrous against Eddie. But one way or another, we'll kick off game number 2 here, see if Box Esports can actually make a comeback, maybe if their playoff run can stay alive, or if Team Secret are going to take a 2-0 victory and continue their attempt at being able to push themselves out of relegations where they're stuck right now and maybe look for a playoff push. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to week number 6 Game number 2 here between Box Esports and Team Secret. Team Secret walked away with a pretty easy win, at least it seemed to be so in our first game of the day. And now walking into game number 2, trying to figure out if Box Esports has any sort of response to some capacity. Mobby, what are your thoughts? Do you think Box Esports can make a counterplay happen?
I think they can. I think they should be able to. They just need to actually lean into what they showed they were good at and actually make an attempt. That would be my first point of call. I have to say there's nothing I hate more than a jungle that is invisible on the map, which is partially why I don't like farming jungle matters, because junglers just piss off and they show up at 20 minutes. But yeah, we saw nothing. We saw the Vi come out for Tomrio, and then he just sort of followed Kyung around, but sort of lagging behind too much to actually impact the plays or dissuade the plays. So in the end, Team Secret got full control of the map. They got to run it as they please. Got to make all the map movements they wanted, and they didn't have to trade anything cross map because Nugu and Tomrio would walk along behind them and just watch the play take place.
Yeah, honestly, the only map movement that was also necessary from Team Secret was sort of like towards the bottom lane, because eventually Eddie just kind of ran things. Slows and Zodiac had a couple of plays where it looked like they wanted to make engagements happen. In fact, I didn't really
quit something that can make an impact and attack this Vi, as Slows is gonna find himself a Aphelios, and I assume he followed that up with a Thresh. That would make the most sense to me. Zodiac just loves his Anchorman.
It's at least threatening at the beginning of the game to be able to try to aggress against anything that comes out from Eddie and Zuhao. But like you said, I mean, it would be easy enough to just say, hey, I'm going to slam Rakan here, and there's not much that you can actually do to stop it.
No.
This I would like quite a bit. They would need a little bit more setup for it. It's possible here that the idea is that if you don't take Rakan, then you get double banned in mid lane, and that means that the LeBlanc has setup. And if you don't, or if you do take your counter pick here, then you just lose Rakan. So I think it's a solid strategy. I like that from Box.
Yeah, I do like the idea of sort of forcing bans and forcing where things are gonna have to go and trying to make the other team make hard decisions. But Rakan is just still gonna be the decision for Team Secret. Archie is 100% okay with that, and now just sort of wants to take away things that can pair into it and make that mid jungle snowball menace. Take away Viego. Take away. What comes next on that sort of AD jungler tier list? Hard to say. I think Vi has been taken, so not that. Yeah, I think you maybe just throw a ban at the top lane now. There's nothing else I can think of. Xin Zhao, okay. There you go. I forgot about him.
All right, it's a little weird that this is coming up. Yeah, okay. Wukong's gone, Lee Sin's gone, Viego's gone, Xin Zhao's gone. They're really convinced it's not going to be Sejuani in the jungle for Tomrio for some reason.
Or they think that Tomrio Sejuani isn't going to be good and are desperately trying to push him onto that.
That's fair.
They think they can counter that pretty effectively, so
okay.
That because your sort of mid jungle setup of that Sejuani LeBlanc is not terribly threatening.
What in the okay? About to say, we're gonna get a Ziggs into LeBlanc. What a wild matchup to throw things. Is that locked? No? Oh, come on. Don't be lame, Artifact. You gonna be lame like that? Come on, pick something cooler.
Give us something fun.
Give us Yasuo.
Nothing fun.
Alright, nothing fun. Instead, they'll just get the Victor, the scaling pick here for Artifact to be able to kind of take over the game a little bit later on. Testing Nugu as well, saying, okay, Nugu, let's see what you can do on the LeBlanc. And honestly, that challenge last week was not one that was easily able to be taken by by the opposition of Box Esports. It was not a very fun time. So there's the threat. It does end up getting locked in, as you had attested to. That was the better of the two options, in my opinion. And it still allows you a little bit of the hook potential against this Xayah and Rakan combo. It's still very, very good to be able to make this play happen. Now we're looking for a top laner that's going to be blind for Sunmer. Or a jungler. Could still be a jungler. There's nothing stopping that in this particular game.
Could go real loud and just pick up something like the Kindred or a Nocturne. Okay, it will end up being that Sejuani in the jungle and just that top lane wrapped for Sunma. And go the Malphite. Just Malphite him. Just slam your face into him and hit him with a rock.
All right, interesting. It's not Hero, it's Kratos who says potentially the Aurelia. I don't know why you would pick Gnar here. Gnar is just like people pick Kennen into Gnar specifically. And there it is. I guess we're going Gnar. Okay, all right, yeah.
It's Rat City in the top lane. We're trying to determine which rat makes the rules. I think it should be Kennen. I mean, look at that lovely 38% win rate on
huge
on Gnar. It's really been working out. You know, I mean, I will say the Kennen's win rate is probably a bit inflated because that is the only champion Kiara is allowed to play for some reason. Yes. So it's been getting a lot of wins courtesy of Gam, but now we have our teams it looks like a pretty decent front to back coming out from the side of MBE with a bit of harassment from the sides and good angles from LeBlanc can absolutely cause havoc. I think Team Secret is still gonna just definitely looking to try and do the similar sort of win early and bring through the snowball and just cut out what Box want to try and do and try and win before anything comes online for the Aphelios.
I don't think that Team Secret has the same easily accessible snowball that they did in the previous game. I don't think Xayah snowballs as hard as what the Zeri will. I think that Xayah is a little bit more safe so that the laning phase can go better. But I don't think Into the Thresh is going to be super easy as the Rakan to set things up. Victor's going to take a little bit longer to get online than what the Cassiopeia did, because you're going to have to wait for probably 2 items before the Victor really starts spiking in this game. So I think the early game, even if it's going well, doesn't necessarily mean Team Secret is out on top, which is kind of nice to think about if you're on the side of Box Esports, because they have a bit of time to play with before they really have to start putting their foot down and really start saying, hey, we're here, we're ready to fight, we're going to start team fighting effectively. Maybe that's the play now, because they needed something to break. So we're going to kick off into game number 2. Let's see what we've got. Let's see if Box Esports can actually take us into a game number 3, or Team Secret just going to continue their winning ways, try to get themselves back into a good place in the standings. We wouldn't have thought at the beginning of the split that Team Secret was going to be sitting in the basement, but here we are.
Yeah, seeing Artifact going a little bit safer in his own choices, doesn't want to actually wants to bully the lane a little bit harder rather than get some free gold and whatnot with first strike. Doesn't feel comfortable with that.
Oh.
Early run for Zodiac.
Okay. What a good play also. Yeah, great play. I think Artifact is just dead too because Nugu positions perfectly for it. That's that right there. Yeah, first blood going over to Zodiac. Really, really well played right there by Nugu. And a great roam by Zodiac as well, kind of baiting an Artifact, getting the flash. Nugu has to flash as well just to get the last little bit of damage, but ends up making it work. Well played. A first blood onto the mid laner.
First blood. It's a little bit of a shame that it had to be the Ignite that finished it, but Suhao tried to do his best, and Guardian pretty much was a good move to get the Guardian proc and force it to go wrong, but Zodiac's just in the right position. He's able to land some somewhat funny little hook, but Nugu's flash is also forced, and it all works out okay. Things do not stop.
Yeah, we are level 1 Aphelios. There are no abilities on this champion. How in the world did you take that bad of a trade at the beginning of the game? I don't get it. It literally can't even press an ability because there's not one to be had at level 1. I know there's Red Gun, which is disgusting. Like, Severum is great, right? But, like, how in the world are we losing that immediately? Is Nugu also getting run down by Artifact?
He doesn't have a flash.
No, it doesn't have Distortion either.
But...
Yeah, neither one of them do, but Nugu thankfully able to get out. His Victor's damage at the beginning of the game just not that high. And teleport's available for Nugu, so it could just TP to lane in exchange for what happened to Artifact, because Artifact died and had to TP immediately anyway as well. So, I don't know. Back and forth. Tomrio now on top of Yang, looking for something, as Xayah and Rakan are pushed back quite far because Eddie had to leave the lane at the beginning. Eddie had to flash at the beginning of the lane. This is such a weird beginning of the game that Box Esports has been able to come out pretty on top of, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I can only assume a hook landed onto Eddie, and then you just have that trading power coming in from those steel shoulder guards. But good news from Suhao, but the Flay, okay, he still has a way out. It's okay from Suhao, just trying to do his best, not letting Slows get that sort of cheeky reset for that call. And all is well in the bot lane for MBE. Zodiac's grabbed the Thresh, and he has already had a immense impact on this game. He's got first blood. He can probably back and grab some early boots and try and make his impact felt even more.
Tamrio. Hey, what are we doing, Kiang? Are you going to fight or are you not going to fight? All right. Where's Chips in the Night here, passing by? And he's going to lose both Scuttle Crabs, too, because Tamrio's the first one up to the top side of the map. Although Tamrio did smite that, I don't think he's going to have it back quite fast enough for Kiang to not be able to take it, but Kiang is not even going to matter because he smites the Raptor camp away. Oh, okay. This has been a very strange beginning of the game. I feel like, I don't know what happened to Team Secret, but they don't really feel like they have any justification for some of the actions that they've taken so far. Again, Artifact dying at level 1, Eddie having to flash at level 1. Like, I don't know. That right there was also really wacky because Kiang felt like there was an angle to make some sort of play into Nugu with the health trade that Artifact had taken earlier, and then he just didn't. There's so many things that are happening in this game that feel like it's not Team Secret, that it reminds me of why they are sitting at 3 and 6 right now at the bottom of the standings.
They've certainly struggled a lot, and it's been I've been giving a lot of the praise to Zodiac, presumably find the hooks. Technically, still don't actually know what happened level 1 in the bot lane, but Eddie had to flash. Eddie had to leave immediately, and that gave full control of the spot side to the side of MBE, and they're just happily playing it out as they want. Nothing actually bought from Zodiac. I guess maybe a ward was bought and dropped somewhere by him. Hook goes to the post.
Nice knee. And now Zodiac positioned a little too far up, wasn't able to get anything else. This slows really far up for Kiang. Yeah, that was okay. Q flash from Kiang does nothing. Unfortunately, Gravitum not quite available yet. Maybe actually we'll have it in a couple of seconds. Great hook, as that's going to be a response as Tamrio finds the first one. Eddie now wants to try to clean up on the other side, but he's going to get stunned up. And that means that Slows is going to be able to clean up 1 for 1 here. Yes, you get 1 for Eddie, but you're going to take that all day as it was a big kill for Slows here on the bottom side of the map. Is now going to be able to shove in the wave as well, deny some more minions over to Eddie to begin with, as his bottom lane has not been the way that Team Secret wants it to be.
Yeah, Zodiac absolutely smurfing these plays. He misses that first hook, but absolutely makes up for it in the back half. On the top side, Summer is just casually winning in the pressure. Get good interrupt there by the Thresh, but Slows kind of steps up a bit too far, and it's just a pretty much pure luck for them that Kiang flubs it, because if Kiang had actually landed that, it would have been fantastic. I didn't even notice that it was set up by the Gravitum route, so good combination coming out from the side of the bot lane, and man, Zodiac don't stop.
Okay, and now Zodiac has picked up 3 kills on this Thresh to begin the game, which is just insane, as Nugu able to help find an additional kill against Artifact. This Victor being shut out of the game, the Xayah being shut out of the game by this support Thresh, as it has just been the most active I think we've seen Zodiac for the entire split. Basically, he's like, hey, Tamrio, I'll show you how to jungle, and then just does it. What a Hex Flash, and what a hook as well to be able to set this up. As Nugu then also double chains, which is a really, really good combination for the LeBlanc to make sure that this ends up working. I'm upset that the kill, again, doesn't go over the LeBlanc, but it doesn't matter all that much because it's another big shutdown, more time that Artifact has to spend out of the laning phase.
Yeah, and I know there's nothing wrong with giving gold to Thresh. If he can get, he's got that Kindle Gem, he's got those boots. He can now land 1 hook and then nothing can be done. Team Secret will simply die, for they will be CC'd forever. Because Thresh is kind of silly right now on this patch. Anyway, Dragon will be obtained by Team Secret catching the resets. And that's something working out for them. It's going to be a little bit of tenacity that will help out about against Zodiac, who has been Menace, of course. And we just need to see where anything goes. Kiang not really getting involved. His Vi's are just not really showing up. At least he did try something in the bot lane, got turned around, but that's something. Now on the top side, we're just seeing some slowly win out, so everything's coming up fine. Rift Herald about to spawn, and Nugu already first on the roam, wanting to try and make something happen in the top side to make this bot lane, this Rift Herald easier. Goodbye.
Wow. It was really funny because it looked like Nugu was just kind of roaming towards the tower, like he was trying to bail before that play had started, not wanting to dive, and then Kratos goes jumping, and it's like, oh, okay. I guess Sunmer will be able to ultimate. I guess Nugu's going to be able to ultimate. I guess everybody's going to be able to ultimate, and it's not going to cost absolutely anything to make that play happen. As that's going to be Rift Herald opened up for this squad. Box Esports looking so much better in this game. Again, shut out bottom lane, shut out mid lane, now top lane getting shut down as well. 20 CS advantage for Sunmer. You have 10 CS advantage here on the bottom side for Slows as well as the kill. As now there's a bit of a fight coming through. Get denial from Zodiac as Eddie's trying to force down something. Bakan ends up picking up that kill with a level 6. That means the Zuhao is going to be in a great place. Now Slows taking a one-on-one against Eddie, basically. Green Gun gets burnt out as Calibrum no longer available. Instead, it's the Infernum and it's the Crescendum, which is not a great set of guns to be fighting with without an ultimate, without anything else. So just going to bail. Instead, it is just the kill for the bottom lane here for Team Secret.
Yeah, Zodiac getting a little bit overexcited there. Flight pushes up aggressively, and it's a nice return from Eddie, having good positioning on that blade caller to try and to lock him up. And there's a lot of damage coming out from Eddie and Zuhao. That's just how it is with the extra the bonus damage of the W. And they just do so much to Zodiac. He can't really do anything. It's good play from Slows to not get followed up on immediately, but it's a play for Team Secret that they needed. That stabilizes the bot lane. It gets Eddie back into it, and it means Team Secret do get slowly closer to approaching that sort of team fight spike where they can actually try and scrounge something back from the side of MBE, who have been having a good early game so far. The proactivity has increased immensely, and it's all been centered around the Thresh. For worse in that case, but mostly for the better.
Now, Team Secret still has a decent bit of scaling and artifact in the mid lane. I know that the Victor's been shut down more or less at the beginning of this one, but still has an opportunity to make something happen. And again, if plays on the bottom side don't continue to kind of trickle over to Slows, eventually this laning advantage will go away. It's about 13 minions here, maybe 2 waves is the easiest way to put it here for Slows, as Kang finds his way into the bottom side. Rift Herald was taken by Tamriel. I do want to note that very, very quickly, that can go down either in mid or bot or even top. I think all of them are great options here for Box Esports. It's just a determination of finding which one's going to be available to absorb that Rift Herald play. Not bot lane right now. They're covering really heavily on bottom side. I almost would prefer to go to top to try to break this cannon completely out of the lane phase. Instead, they drop it mid lane. Just to, I was going to say to dump some gold to No-Go, who is going to be able to get an auto attack off. Okay, yeah, that is going to be at least a little bit of gold. It's not going to crack more than 1 plate, but at least No-Go has more pressure now. That if a play goes badly for Artifact in the mid lane, there's a real legitimate threat on that mid tower.
Yeah, personally, I do like this mid lane threat, and but bit of a mismatch, and they didn't time it fantastic to really try and get the most out of it. But I prefer that. I think you can quite happily extend this top laning phase as long as you possibly can. And you're just going to see more and more returns for Sunma come out of it. Mm-hmm. We see Kratos already down about 30 CS. He's down a plate as well, almost a second one that should fall on this next crash. Sunma just quietly winning. He will be a pretty effective threat in team fights, especially with no one there to exhaust him. It's going to be up to Kratos to try and find a way to knock him out if he can time that knock correctly. But if he can't, that should just be a free access for Sunma to just wreak havoc. Can they find anything onto Nugu? Not really likely, given it's LeBlanc. And they just need to try and do something. They want to try and get something onto this Victor, try and race them ahead on the Glorious Evolution passive. There is a dragon available, and they have got the pressure in the mid and bot side to try and set that up. Someone who's liking though. He might go for a steal and then Lantern out.
Okay, Tamriel, Zodiac. Will they combine for it? There is the Lantern. Ultimate comes out, and he gets it. Tamriel makes the hero play. It's not the biggest deal in the entire world. It only evens up the dragon count, but it is a bit of resilience coming out from the side of Box Esports, because again they got handily dealt with in game number 1. So coming out with that that kind of confidence here in game number 2 is quite nice. Tamriel just feeling himself, pops the ultimate over to Pit, gets Lanterned out. Nothing crazy about that one. Making sure the Team Secret doesn't have that late scaling option. Instead, there's a legitimate threat for a 5 Dragon Soul, especially with, I think it's Hextech Drake. That's a solid soul to be able to grab up. Mid lane, Artifact. Bone Plating's broken. Nugu just dropping a single Q on him is just going to push Artifact back once again in the laning phase. As nothing is broken completely out, it is a 3k advantage here for Box Esports, but Nobody's really been taking advantage of. Ultimate's getting there. Zodiac just has to flash and misses the hook afterwards, so there's not much else to be said. This play is mostly done. Eddie's dropping some solid damage with the feathers. You do have to be careful for the feather pull eventually here against the side of Box Esports.
Full Gale Force complete, so it's actually going to be winning out in this damage trade. So it just has to do his best to try and clear the wave. We've seen a decent amount of pressure coming in from Kyung to try and give this bot lane some advantage, and they've had pretty much full push for a while and full control over it. It's a decent play. It forces Zodiac Splash, which isn't the most impressive thing to come out of it, but when you really only committed the ultimate from Kyung and the quickness, it's all fine.
That it is. Oh, Sunmer now actually has a great angle onto Kratos. It just stunned him, got a second stun with the ultimate, and only dropped that kill by maybe an auto's worth of damage, if not a little bit more, but not a ton. That should open up Sunmer for first tower of the game, though. I mean, even with the plates gone, now you can see that Yang wants to wrap around, wants to make sure that Sunmer cannot, and Sunmer will pull off his mid lane. There's another fight. It's Nugu up against Artifact. Taking off the bone plating, taking off some additional damage. But nothing so far from Box Esports has really broken the game open completely. I was hoping first tower on top side would do it. I was hoping some of the plays on bottom side would do it. I was hoping a play in mid lane would eventually do something, as Artifact just going to be able to shove back Nugu yet again. Doesn't burn the ultimate in an attempt to shove out the LeBlanc, but not going to have too much of an impact. Rift Herald 2 might be an option here for Box Esports. I feel like they've gotten enough on the top side that it shouldn't be that big of an issue grabbing it up. Instead, they're going to lean towards this mid tower, try to grab that one. A bit of a team fight now. Kiang tries to enter. Zuhao is trying to start up enough people. That's going to be one on the front line. As Zodiac is going to go down to Eddie. And Box Esports had an opening and just are not able to take it. Instead, Team Secret finds a kill, probably grab up the Rift Herald. They're going to trade it for top tower, maybe bottom tower too. Kratos should be able to clear this wave sufficiently, so it should just be top tower for Rift Herald here.
Yep, they didn't really want to commit too much. They were just trying to put the pressure on and see if Nugu could force Artifact out of lane and crack that mid lane tower. But they weren't really going to commit to it that hard. Okay, Tom, we are going to try and upset Kratos, but that's...
Actually did get the Mega Nord just at the last second. Flash from Slows is going to get something, as Tomnio is not going to fall to the tower. Slows is able to grab this bottom tower as well on top of it. So eventually a play completely breaks open this bottom side where Slows is going to be able to be very, very big. Nugu dropping damage, and the chain going to force the flash out of Eddie with the response from Zuhao. There's not going to be any additional follow-up from Nogo. Is out of nowhere. I thought Team Secret maybe had gotten themselves out of the weeds for a second there, only for Box Esports to win out on that bottom lane and that top lane simultaneously. Now Team Secret's even more of a hole than we thought they were going to be in.
Yeah, and with that swap as well, it allows Nugu to actually win out in mid lane. He wasn't able to find anything onto Artifact, had the right rune setup, had the Merc treads. So Nugu was a little bit of a nuisance, but couldn't actually do damage. But Eddie sure as hell gets blown up.
The world was that Eddie's just out of the fight now. Kiang trying to find something on the back line, but Slow's going to be able to clean that up as the LeBlanc doing an unreasonable level of damage this early on. You get to the wounds, you get to the pen shoes. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, Eddie cannot stand up towards this LeBlanc. Artifact could, but now with the lanes broken open, things being swapped around, Eddie is the one who has to sort of sit in mid lane. This is very aggressive.
Oh my goodness.
Young just kind of went into the 1v3. I guess trying to maybe counteract the Lantern take and capitalize on that to jump on Nugu, but it didn't happen. Or it happened a bit too late, and Kyung was just in the wrong place and got completely blown up. And now Nugu feels pretty good. He feels pretty online, and Zuhao's going to walk into a bad spot. Kind of gave it away, Zodiac.
Yeah, the double distortion once again. Now Eddie's going to get chained up, getting pulled back into the rest of the team. And Zodiac gets the kill, even though a lot of that damage was done by Nogo. Just doesn't matter in the slightest.
He flayed the Gale Force. Yes. I'm giving that to Zodiac. He earned it.
Fair enough that it was a great outplay coming through from Zodiac. Again, the damage was there from Nugu, but you'll take that all day, as there's no response. Once again, Kang a little bit late to the party. And again, you've lost top tower, but that's all you've really lost in this circumstance. Eventually, I think Kratos was able to bring that one down, but the trade-off is that mid, inner, and bot inner is even getting pushed at this point. You have to be terrified if you're anybody walking into the LeBlanc. She's been able to destroy anybody that stands in front of her. the third dragon of the game, currently being taken by Box Esports. They've got the setup for it basically everywhere. They haven't even started team fighting, really. Team Secret has not found a way to take like a 5-on-5 or anything a little bit less than that, like 4v4, 3v3, anything like that. Because when that starts happening, remember, Sunmer has had basically a free laning phase as well. It's already on an item and a half on this Kennen. And so now we've got like, you have Dragon advantage, you've got a powerful team fighter in Kennen who has not gotten a single kill, and then you've got this insane LeBlanc, you've got this really powerful Aphelios. Like, you are not struggling at all. Like, Box Esports is absolutely chilling in this game compared to Team Secret. I don't know how it is that they respond. Look at that gold ranking right now.
They read my mind. I was about to ask for this, as we just see, such a huge lead. We see about 2,000 gold for Sunma ahead of Kratos. We see 2,000 for, 1.5 for Nugu ahead of Artifact. It's really just kind of Eddie keeping up, and even then he's about 800 down. It's not looking good for the side of Team Secret. They still have gold in certain places. They still have gold that can turn a team fight if MBE misstep, and this will even it up a little bit. But that's fine for the side of Team Secret. They're happy. They're just from Box Esports. They're happy to just let this one go. Try not to let that charge. There we go. As they've decided, okay, that's fine. We're just gonna own the top side of the map. We're going to make sure we're going to try and push in this turret. We're going to make sure when Baron spawns, we have full control and can start to threaten to take that and offer a turn, perhaps. Okay, we're going to actually see the reset, so I'm not going to jump straight onto it, but still, lots of vision on the top side that Team Secret has to spend the time clearing out now, because MBE are just owning wherever they decide to put their pressure on the map. It's a bloodthirst to complete it for slows, and now it's going to be extra difficult for Team Secret to cut through.
Neither team has been able to, or this Team Secret squad hasn't been able to get onto Ophelia super effectively over the course of the game. There were a couple of times at the beginning where it was a little bit touch and go, but wasn't able to convert any of that. And now, like you said, it's going to be really hard to find something up against this Ophelia. So the Baron has been set up now for a couple of minutes as well, like you were saying just seconds ago. That's a nice pull. That's a great catch. So it's going to be 2 ultimates down just for the one pick on Azuha, but now there's no ward pressure. Now there's no massive engage to follow up alongside the Vi. Well, at least not easy enough. Kratos might have to do something else. Double TP. They actually forced double TP right here. Okay.
Summer's on the top side of the map. He's kind of in the wrong spot, but he can get this deep flank.
Mm-hmm. Gonna prevent Team Secret from walking up because I think they're terrified of Sunmer just kind of running through them. They saw him on the wardage, and now 3,500 health. This is a dead Baron. There is not much else to be said here. There is no contest. They're gonna lose Baron buff on Team Secret. And Box Esports once again showing off what it is that they're able to do at their maximum. We saw this last week up against Cerberus Esports, and we were like, okay, this is pretty good, but we got to see if they can do it again. Bobby, they're doing it again. I know that,
Yeah. They've put on a very good show so far. 6,000 gold ahead. Now it's 2 minutes of the Dragon. They have Baron to work with. You're just going to find a Vi, but I think Small Kyung is going to find a LeBlanc. And okay, in the end, they do about as much damage to each other as. And it's all okay. Bit of a early reset from Kyung. Wants to be as strong as possible for the actual Dragon encounter. But I like this, attempting to play on the 2 lanes, sort of abandoning the top side. Nugu could push a little bit faster, admittedly, but they want to try and get MBE they want to try and get these waves pushed in so Team Secret can't really contest this Dragon. They have a minute to do so. If they're lucky, they can push down a tower in the bot lane, but they're not pushing that lane very aggressively. It should be fairly easy for Team Secret to commit their resources to defend it. But it's all about securing that soul point. That's what this Baron is going to be utilized for.
Very much so. And now, I mean, with Baron buff pushing in on the bottom side, Sunmer's down here. You already have mid lane set up. You've got bot lane set up. You've got a bunch of vision in the jungle. Should be easy enough to grab up third dragon if that is the potential target, as Nugu is going to nearly destroy Kratos. Literally, if the chain hits, I think it tags for enough damage, and that's going to be an execution onto the Gnar. Not going to be able to find that one. Meganar also forced out, so...
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that was purely to force the Narbar, but I think even Nuga was a bit surprised with how much damage that did to Kratos, and they still can't really touch this tower. The wave clear is still just a bit too good between Eddie and Artifact, but the damage is done, the dragon is spawning, and now MBE are in a great position to pick that up for free. Team Secret could try and brute force their way into it, maybe try and pick up a kill, but nope, they're just spread out and just concede and just try and weather the Baron, which is fair. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're going to lose their bottom tower now as Nugu continues to try to bully away. It honestly, with the support, yeah, it wasn't able to. I think it popped it just a second ago on Zhu Hao more than anything else. Is Tamriel still taking the dragon 30 minutes later? His team also backed in the tie. His team literally backed without him because they just have to be there. Goodness.
Okay, Tamriel. They are playing full protect the carry.
Yes.
Getting that Knight's Vow second, even ahead of a mythic item. That's quite interesting. I'm not sure where it's onto. I'd presume slows, but given Nugu's propensity for jumping forward, it could be on him and give that LeBlanc a little bit of tankiness to be a bit more aggressive with those players.
The Elixir of Iron is also an interesting choice for this early in the game. I know you can use it around really, really necessary objectives, but like, why this early? Like was he expecting a coin flip around this dragon? Is that what the anticipation was? Maybe just holding it for whatever. Actually, did he pop it?
Yeah,
Tamriel popped it. Okay, maybe they're trying to just like clamp down on the top lane here. Maybe they're like, okay, this top tower is where we make our definitive stand. That is a little bit strange, but it speaks to Box Esports knowing that they're going to make something aggressive happen, knowing that they want to push back this Team Secret squad. They don't want to wait for Artifact to get into this one, as that's going to be a play into the mid lane. Kratos really low, now going to allow Kiang to do more, but of course the rotate from the rest of Box Esports is going to be able to get them quite a bit more space. Kiang able to queue out, Diaz get tagged up by the chain, he's going to get out of range for any additional follow-up from Nugu, but that means that mid lane is under severe fire right now from Box Esports. As they just walk it up mid lane, Artifact isn't able to shift over. TP is going to keep a minion up and make sure that they have the space for it. Maybe it was a great play from Tamriel. Maybe they do just want to clamp things off and end the game right here and right now.
Waiting for the engage. Nugu's going to
he's half
poking, but Tamriel, he's a big guy with this Elixir of Iron, but isn't actually going to push for a dive. So it's a mid lane inhibitor tower broken, which is going to be a lot of good for the side of MBE. They're going to be quite happy with that. They actually got the inhibitor as well, so that's free pressure. I didn't notice that, but Baron is going to be up in a minute. They're going to have that free pressure in mid. They're going to have it for the Baron. They're going to have it for the Dragon as well. So two important objectives where they're going to get free prio in mid, which is an absolutely good time to take an inhibitor.
It's a little bit wild altogether. Kind of cool to see that Box Esports has actually been playing really effectively around the map. The Elixir of Iron still confuses me to some extent, but I know that Tamriel was like, okay, we just win the game if they decide to fight us anytime soon, so maybe that was the thought process. And now stepping into hyper late game, or getting really, really into the late game, you've got almost your third item. That's Infinity Edge, I think, done for slows, which is why he's backing right now. 24 seconds until the Baron buff means that they can wait for that, grab it up, go clean up the rest of the map, and be done with it. Be done with everything else. Yeah, there's your massive power spike. Rabadon's is nearly done. Goodness gracious, Box Esports is so juiced in this game. But like, you've got like Rabadon's nearly completed for Sunmer. Rabadon's is going to be done soon enough for Nugu, as well as having like the Dark Seal stacks beginning to go up. Team Secret just cannot do anything. Team Secret, like, they can't fight, which is usually their bread and butter. They're going to stall this game to 45 minutes, which is what Team Secret always does. But at no point are they going to feel like they have control or an ability to come back unless they really get a massive fight win with Artifact here around the Baron buff. And there are enough members to maybe make that happen. It is all 10 members on this side of the map right here and right now.
Green and white, so their Baron shutting capabilities is immense for
Big
slows.
play.
Okay,
Tamriel jumps in. Ultimate gets dropped in the middle of everybody. Eddie almost gets wrecked immediately. Flash, and that's going to be Nugu just finding an assassination. Actually, it slows the fountain. Now Sunburn into the back. This is just over. I don't even know what else to say about that one. They got shoved in so many directions. I thought it was going to be necessary. Kiang might die to the Ignite. He's not going to, but Nugu is going to find the Vi. Yeah.
You can't get away from LeBlanc. That's going to be pretty... Okay, that's going to be 3 kills. That's not enough for MBE to feel confident enough to just hard force the mid lane. But, okay, so is that his real flash?
I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter.
He doesn't need it, but respect.
Respect for just to get slows a little bit faster onto the Baron buff so they can continue to push. I mean, you do have red, white. You're able to get slows in the right circumstance. Now you got Baron buff, top lane, Summoner, and Nugu going to be able to punish. I mean, they just clean everything. Like it feels like this is a different squad. If you had taken every nameplate off this map and you had made me watch these 2 games, I'd have been like, okay, they're either both Team Secret that won or something like that. But no, it's not even close to being the case here.
No, this has been pretty comfortable from the side of NBA start to finish. They've had winning lanes. They've had good pressure from Tomrio, and I mean Zodiac has absolutely crushed this game. And this time around, it's Tomrio finding a beautiful ultimate. The follow up, Zuhao can't block the hook correctly, and Eddie just gets removed, and it's a pure rout from Team Secret, and that's where the blood starts to spill. Summer can't quite chase down Zuhao, but it's fine. They get the jungle, they get the Baron, and now they just walk it on in. Oh no! Oh, they got the dragon as well.
Yeah, Hex Soul just dropped an additional 200 damage right there on that combo. You did not need more true damage on the combo from Nugu. Nugu didn't even hit chains or a second ability. I'm pretty sure it was just a distortion and a Q. That's going to be an ultimate onto Kratos. That's the bottom tower. Kiang is going to go down now. Tries to ult, but doesn't even do 200 damage of health to Summer. That's going to be a big ultimate coming out. Zodiac, or my bad, Slow's not getting the pay dirt that I think he wanted on that one, but it just doesn't matter as they have too much damage. Tomrio does go down. There's at least that. Nugu is still available as well as this massive assassin for the team is in the back line. Oh my goodbye, Eddie. Nugu just says, for the halibut, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to bring you down. There's nothing you can do as Box Esports pops off, Bobby. Pops off in game number 2.
Okay, I let the depression come back too quickly. Bucks, the first one was the hardest. They got that first win. Now Bucks are able to continue actually putting games in the basket. We're gonna have to see if they can follow up with a second series, but they are winning games now. That is important.
We need to talk about this because it's ridiculous. This team is currently at a -16 scoreline. Actually, -16 scoreline. They're 3-19 right now inside of the split in terms of game score. And that team just did that to Team Secret, who is a team that should be better. Like that was a routing of Team Secret, top to bottom. Nugu put together a really solid performance. I think Zodiac was an absolute monster. Slows was a B. Again, if you had told me that these nameplates are off, I would have been like, oh wow, Team Secret's composition was pretty solid. Artifact had a really good game. Zuhao had a really good Thresh game as usual. Zuhao's always been a good Thresh. Where's this box been all split?
Yeah, like we've been talking up and celebrating still the Cerberus win, and it's like that's their first series win. That wasn't just their first series win; those were their first 2 games they ever won in the split, and now they've got a third. And can they get the 4th? I want to see MBE. I want that silly run up into the tiebreakers for playoffs for MBE. I want them to force it, even though it's so impossibly unlikely. I love this team finally has gone from being just a sack at the bottom to an actual potential underdog story, and I want the underdog.
At minimum, it would be nice to see them start pushing Team Secret and Team Flash for some of these relegation spots, because it's like, okay, 7th, 8th have to go to relegation tournament. I don't know that anybody's beating Box in this form at relegations, and if you're going to tell me that Team Secret or Team Flash would fault anyone in relegations, I would be like, what mega team currently sits in VCSB that's able to beat these guys? Like these should not. These should be like
5 computers.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's facts. Like Kiko, a little bit combination there would do it absolutely, but I'm not too pressed about it. But I'm down to see the Box Miracle run as well. Again, if they're going to keep playing this well and tugging at my heartstrings like this, I am 100% on board with Box Esports kind of showing us how it's done. That to be said, we still have to wrap up this series, Bobby. It is a best of 3. We're walking into game number 3 of our first game of the week 6 as Box Esports and Team Secret decide who wins right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to our third game of the day and our last game of our first series of week number 6 of the VCS English. I got all of that right, and I don't know how, because I always do this to myself. It's too many words all at once. Box Esports taking on Team Secret, as Box Esports has now pushed Team Secret into a weird situation. We're not in a place where Box Esports could potentially overcome Team Secret at this point. However, we're getting way too close in the standings to where Box Esports might climb out of the basement. Mobby, who do you want to win? Forget analytics really quick. Who do you want to win this game?
That's a good question. So, if Box Esports win this game, they will go up to 2-9. Team Secret is 3-7.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're one win away from pretty much one win away from matching them, and one loss away from matching them.
Right.
And if Team Flash also sort of stumbles a bit more, then we actually have a competitive sort of race for escaping relegation zone. Because as it was, there was only really one spot in play. We were thinking, because that box was just losing. But if it's actually sort of a competitive three-way fight, maybe four-way fight if Buffalo continues to suffer, I think that's much more exciting. So, Box, let's go. All
right. A big fan of Box Esports we are here on this desk, if only to keep alive what could be one of the most miraculous runs in just League of Legends history. Like, let's be very direct about this. I don't think any team walking into the final week of games, or walking into, I guess, like the back half of the split, maybe 3 weeks before the end of the split, had gone completely winless and then gone to playoffs. If someone wants to prove me wrong, I'd be happy to hear out that story, but I would feel like if Box Esports were to somehow make playoffs and then maybe even make a run to like MSI, that would probably be the greatest run of all time, and you could not deny that in esports by any standard whatsoever. Being 0-9 and 0-18 walking out of the fourth week of games, only to then walk through 3 weeks of play to be able to qualify for playoffs and then also make it to an international tournament would just be wild as we step into our draft of game number 1.
Yeah, if they actually did manage to pull off the make it to MSI, DRX is sweating a little bit for their Cinderella. For their Cinderella story title. As it is, we're gonna see a real big switch up in the jungle matchup. No more Sejuani, no more Vi. Of course, we can see still Sejuani make its way into the top lane for one of these teams, but the Vi ban is really, really interesting to me. Going for the Sin Sal makes a bit more sense. I like it in theory with Hamrio going for that bit more aggression in the early game, but yeah, Aphelios lock-in. Slow's had a pretty strong performance on it. We're gonna see what the answer is. Jinx, and I guess you could probably try and take away the Thresh here as well from Zodiac. Get that over to Suhao and be comfortable with that Jinx Thresh lane, which is a pretty strong duo.
That it is. I mean, it could be something along those lines. It's not going to be, though. We're not going to get sports at all here, as it looks like it's going to be mid lane for mid lane and nothing else. Nope, Nautilus, potentially. It's not huge, because the Thresh matchup into Nautilus is a very skill-based matchup for the Thresh, but Zuhao is a talented Thresh player. So if Nugu goes for this Nautilus, it could be a chance for Zuhao to flex. The Thresh, I think, makes a lot more sense, because it's a denial, and also then the Aphelios gets a solid pairing, but it's not going to be the case. Instead, it looks like they're going to go to the Nautilus.
Yeah, I feel like if I almost prefer the Varus. It's not the best, the Victor Hover, just lock that in as sort of the idea of going, all right, we pick our mid lane matchup we want, then we have first pick on support, so are you going to ban them? Are you going to ban Thresh or not? But as it is, I think now Thresh will probably hit the ban list alongside that Renata. I mean, it's not the best. I mean, as you said, the Nautilus matchup is good into it, but it's not that good that I think the Lantern just ends up being more useful as the game progresses. It's a purely lane counter, really. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where these bans go. Might just be maybe more for something like the Jinx. The Rakan is a bit of a strange one.
Yes.
Jinx Rakan is not a lane I really think of at all. But the banning from Team Secret at least makes a lot of sense, just trying to take Nugu's big champions away, but no more LeBlanc. Get that LeBlanc out of here. Syndra as well, a bit interesting.
Okay. I'm assuming that they are thinking that this is definitely going to be the pick here, and they've left up Vigar, of course. So I don't know. This is something that people will opt for with the Vigar a lot of the time anyway. So they ban out, like, again, LeBlanc I think is a good ban. The Syndra is like, I'm up and down about it. But the Vigar is something that people actively pick into the RE previously. So it would not shock me to see them go for that. Of course, it's the Victor locked in instead of anything else. And I don't think our Victors haven't been electrifying here this year. So I'm not the most amped for this compared to the Vigar, but it is what it is.
No, Victor just as a whole isn't actually very good. Right now, very few people are actually playing it over the across the world. It's kind of just VCS mid laners saying, we don't actually know how to play anything else, so we're just going to play Victor again. And Victor isn't, and because Victor's bad, it doesn't perform very well. So now we're going to see Team Secret try and do a similar thing to what they did in Game 1 and just have a big triple threat frontline to buy as much space for Artifact and Kyon as possible. Artifact's going to be a bit more slippery and a bit more mobile on the Sari than on the Cassio, so can also act as a semi-engaged pick tool as herself. And that's fine. That's just go back to what works for the side of Team Secret seems to be the call. What does Summer round it out with? After Cassante, I'm gonna be depressed if it's yet another Gnar R5, but is Gwen available as Cassante counter? You could just go another tank into it. Kennen works.
Yeah, Sunmer's Kennen I didn't hate. Like, usually Sunmer is not playing the damage carries all that well, or it's very, very difficult, but in that last game, showed pretty well on the Kennen, so I want to give props to Sunmer, because it would be very easy to criticize Sunmer for the split, because it's been a rough split for a lot of these players. But apparently the Kennen I thought was pretty good. Even in the loss, I seem to remember Sunmer had a pretty solid Kennen. So I'm glad that they're giving some confidence over to their top laner to be able to pick something that they want into this matchup. And now you've got decent disengage with like a couple of members. You've got Sunmer able to get into the back line. You've got front to back possibly. It's an interesting enough composition for Box Esports. You do, however, run the risk of triple front line with your two damage dealers in the back, causing yourself a bit of strife like what happened in game number 1 here on Team Secret.
Yeah, for sure. This composition for the side of MBE doesn't really necessarily speak to what I've been seeing as their strengths. Victor is by no means a playmaker, and they've been kind of relying on Nugu to make a lot of the sort of plays in the mid game so far. As a damage carry, it's absolutely fine, and Nugu can absolutely perform on that, can absolutely provide that, but without that sort of pick potential of the LeBlanc or those big playmaking Azir ultimates like we saw against Cerberus, though I suppose with the build he went against Cerberus, it was that Nash's Azir, so kind of did just sort of play back as the defense threat as the game went later on, DPS threat as the game went later on, so looking to fulfill that with Victor, I suppose. I don't know, I'm so... It's not what's typical MBE victory for me, because we have that now. So I'm sweating.
Just a touch. But nonetheless, here we are. Game number 3 between Box Esports and Team Secret. As both teams, again, sitting in kind of the gutters right now, trying to get themselves out of a bad situation, trying to make better for themselves. As we see a little bit of shenanigans here, Wukong is at a solid flank angle for Tom Rio, but Artifact is here as well. You're going to have to start Charm to try to find something over top of the wall, assuming that you can hit it against Tom Rio here. Nugu's close enough. Okay, yeah, they're going to call it off. Oh, actually, dang. Going to get traded against at the beginning of this one. Thankfully, the auto from Artifact ends up evening up the health trade, but dang. They had the wrapper. I'm surprised they didn't at least try for it there, but they ended up not. Now Slows and Zodiac actually making a play happen. Really quick note also, how many times has Eddie played the Jinx? That's my question to you.
I actually have no idea.
So this year, 0, but it is his most played champion of all time with 23 games or something like that. So I was surprised when Eddie was not one of the first to jump on the Jinx, but here we are, getting the first bit of it here in season 13. Yeah,
and actually, very interesting sort of choice coming out in the starting items on these bot lane is, you can sort of see Slows has a very different idea of how this lane is going to go compared to Eddie. He wants to try and find some sort of kill alongside Zodiac, but Eddie just wants to hard shove the wave and have nothing to do with interacting with the enemy bot laner for the early stages of this game. So going for that early cult could benefit Eddie in the end if MBE aren't able to actually find anything to set themselves up with a kill and punish that starting item.
Just might. Nothing else crazy, I think, across the map in terms of runes or anything else. I'm a little shocked that Sunmer is not going for the Conqueror Cannon. I believe we talked about that a little bit on a previous broadcast where we think that that's actually one of our favorite. I believe it was Yolway that I was having that discussion with. We were talking about, we think that the Conqueror with Riftmaker is actually our favorite build specifically because it allows you to attack. No, criminality. Tamrio's here. Making a play against Kiang actually forces the flash. I haven't seen a ton of Xin Zhao. I know Xin Zhao pops up as a counter to a couple of the jungle because it's good into Wukong, it's good into Sejuani. There's a couple of champions. He finds Kiang again. He's not going to be able to find the knockup. Tamrio thought he went the other direction and is unfortunately not going to be able to grab that kill, which should have been Tamrio's to run with. But I think just got caught up in the fact that there was no Wukong in front of him and ended up having to leave. That was insane, though. Tamrio already making action happen on this Xin Zhao champion, and that again, it's a little bit more niche than what you're usually accustomed to here inside the jungle, but I'm happy to see somebody making that adaptation. Yeah.
Suha had to flash, and Zodiac ends up queuing a wall, and as a result of that hook just goes wide. But I'm really liking the aggression coming out from Tamrio, actually putting the Xin Zhao to use, because it's picked for its early game pressure and the ability to out-skirmish the Wukong, the Lee Sin at these very, very early levels, but it's a sort of slow champion to farm, so if you don't get a lot of pressure down, it's going to naturally fall behind pretty quickly. As the game progresses, its only real value is the fact it has a pretty ridiculous ultimate. But, so I'm really glad to see Tamrio doing his best to put the pressure down, as that's kind of what they need out of Tamrio. They need the aggression. He needs to link up well with Zodiac, and maybe even not with Zodiac, because it's a little bit harder to be as aggressive on the roams as the Nautilus, because you have to be so committal with your pick. Whereas with the Thresh, you can walk up to a lane, throw a hook. If it lands, and no one else can follow up on it, then you just walk away.
Okay, this was interesting because if you see, Kiang actually walked directly into bot side to try to cover for a gank from Tamrio, and now has to go all the way cross map just to start farming again, because this is the path that he had taken earlier on. So he's going to start on Wolves and then head up to Gromp, maybe go into top side Scuttle, and then go into top lane, try to find a gank against Sunmer, who is currently bullying Kratos to some extent. But Tamrio has yet to back and just decided to go topside, go for the Scuttle Crab and say, okay, I'm going to take this one away. You're going to be down that camp. Now Tamrio is able to back. Now Tamrio is going to be able to clamp off for Kiang, whose only real option for farming is to either wait for bot side camps to spawn or to go invading into the opposite side against a pushed up Kennen, against the Victor that could potentially step off wave with Zuha or Zodiac out of lane. I don't know. If Kiang has very, very little to do here if he's not careful, especially with the number of wards on top side.
Yeah. Yeah, you just see it there. He hits the scrying block cone, sees that the Scuttle is already taken away, and he's like, "Well, that was my only option, so I'm just going to back and try and find something else to do." The Raptor camp is spawning pretty soon, so he should be fine to jump straight into that. Unless Tamrio really tries to walk his way down, skipping his own Raptors to try and contest that, it should be fine. It should be okay, and that would be pretty ridiculously aggressive, so Tamrio's just gonna be fine getting a small farm advantage over the Wukong, and still need a little bit of something else to happen, because if we keep silent until 6, Kiang's ultimate power spike is going to be a lot more effective at trying to find a lane gank, or gank into one of these lanes. And the bot lanes are looking a little bit feisty right now. There's good pick potential on the Infernum Gravitum. And this dragon may be the point of contact, but neither team really wants to commit too hard for it, because there's bot lane prio, but Jinx can have sort of cheated back pretty quickly if she wants to commit the rockets to it for a dragon fight. Did Zodiac just hook a minion? Or was that just a bit of a silly minion block walk.
Great question.
No, his hook is off cooldown, so it's fine.
I think he's fine. Nothing crazy. Both junglers are down here. Tamrio actually sneaks really deep into the position to try to make something happen, potentially. I know Eddie's going to have to wrap around and take some scuttle. Notice, if you will, that Zuhao's on the top side of the map, or in the middle of the map. My apologies. So there's that to think about as well. They have vision on Eddie with that ward that was placed over top of the wall.
He knows
not wanting to creep
up.
Yeah, I think he knows. I think he knows that Zodiac at minimum is hanging out in the brush. I don't think he knows that Tamrio is. Tamrio actually avoids the vision from the red ward, and that's Zuhao just dead. I think they're going to try to trade back onto Tamrio. That is going to happen. First blood to Eddie. You got to be kidding me. How did they find that damage?
They just eke it out ahead using the ignite down onto the Sensao, and that's kind of actually just item difference. You have the full Noon Quiver completed to just the attack speed boots, and yeah, there's free attack damage in Slows' kit due to how it works, but better split damage choice on Zuhao and Eddie compared to just a full committal onto Tamrio. It's works out in the favor of Team Secret, and even worse, it's Zodiac that gets the kill.
Yes.
They go on to Zuhao, who is just insanely tanky.
He got trapped. If he didn't stand on the trap, I think he would have been fine, because he could have dodged the W, and the W's what really did it onto Eddie. And like you had said, I think the other big portion is that there's no extra AD here for Slows going for the attack speed boots to begin with. But that was just unreal to me, thinking that Eddie was in that good of a position to be able to not only get the damage from the traps, which is pretty high, the damage from the zap, which is pretty high, all of which is what led to Tamrio going down first and getting first blood in a position that never should have been the case in 100 years. That play should never go the way of Team Secret. Yet here we are. Gold's still even after, I think it was a turret play got taken on the bottom side. But you have to think, if you're Box, you're going to be super frustrated about that one.
And all in all, that's actually kind of technically through the damage resistance.
That's
damage
no
down
good.
off. Yeah, hold that. That's
okay. Nice flash actually coming through as well. Is it green, red going to be popped up here? Calibrum, Severum's not a bad combination to be able to get away with as Calibrum kind of fails as Infernum comes back up. But, I mean, you're okay with that. Slows us to burn both summoner spells, but does get out alive, as that's multiple members of pressure going down to the bottom side, trying to break out this Jinx. This is what worked for Team Secret in game number 1, was putting the pressure onto Eddie and allowing him to carry.
Yeah, we're just seeing Eddie pretty much slowly get that advantage. He's got that kill under his belt. He's completing that cull pretty soon, and just on items, he's so much stronger than Slows is right now. It's really nicely played by Slows and Zodiac to escape that play, but everything was committed down there, and in the end, it's actually Tamrio who's going to be able to pick up the dragon off the back of it. So it's actually coming up okay from the side of MBE, despite all that committal. They weren't able to actually get pressure that they could convert into an objective.
Yeah, it's the next minutes of gameplay that are going to be the most pivotal, because this is Slows without either summoner spells. Zodiac doesn't have flash either. This is where the bottom side is going to be most susceptible to any sort of pressure from the side of Team Secret, especially with the Rift Herald coming down. If that ends up going over, it would be really disastrous, because that means that bottom side's going to become a very heavy target of affection for the side of Team Secret, as they could pop both the Rift Herald, they could try to crack the tower, they could get Jinx out of lane yet again, which is exactly what happened in game number 1.
Yeah, if you just send the 4-man squad down into the bot lane again, try and force Slows off the tower, and it should fall pretty quickly. If Jinx gets any time alone with tower, she melts through it with her minigun. And of course, with a Rift, if you back that up with a Rift Herald, that could be a very quick conversion onto a first brick, even though there's actually been very little damage dealt to that tower so far. Could still happen. As it is, it's going okay. It's a very even game. There's small advantages, well, pretty much just in the mid lane, actually, for MBE. MBE's kind of started to slip a little bit. Summoner not able to bully quite as aggressively onto Kratos as he had been doing earlier. Kratos able to find some CS back. And with that, if this Cassandra is just dead even compared to this cannon, it should just work out pretty much. Should be okay, because all in all, at worst case scenario, Kratos can just all out Summoner, and the cannon ultimate doesn't really do anything.
True. You do have to be cautious though, because you got Tom Rio has to be considered to be knocked out. Nautilus in some circumstances has to be considered to be knocked out. You always want to try to put pressure onto the 2 damage dealers. There's plenty of reasons why you would do things like this. That's mid lane. That's a little bit of gold for Artifact. But again, I know the Rift Herald isn't as strong, but I feel like they are just not being creative enough with their usage of this Rift Herald to be able to actually warrant taking it at the priority that Team Secret has been, which maybe on the back half of the split, if I go back and examine, trying to figure out what's going wrong with Team Secret, maybe that's one of the big things is that, again, if you're going to put that much into getting early Rift Herald, dropping it in mid lane for 1 plate that gets split between your mid and your jungle is basically like buying a control ward for both of them. Like, you get 88 gold or something like that. It's not that much gold that you get for grabbing up 1 singular turret plate split between 2 people, which I'm pretty sure is exactly what just happened. I don't think they got 2. I think they got 1.
Yeah, I think Artifact managed to break a plate just before the Rift Herald hit, which is actually better for him because it means he gets the full plate instead of having it split. Yes. But it is just, Rift Herald used for 1 plate mid, which it's not very good. It feels kind of weak, especially considering we sort of played out how, and pretty much just a copycat from game 1, of course, but we played out how Team Secret could utilize that Rift Herald to actually to burst this Jinx open and try and get her to a point where she just is untouchable and can just shred through whatever MBE throws at her. But in the end, we're going to get Ahri, maybe her Everfrost a little bit quicker, which, okay, that's a choice.
Yes. I mean, that's just the go-to now for Ahri players, is that they go Everfrost and Horizon Focus, and with those two, you do have good damage, not great damage. I've never considered, or at least don't currently consider Ahri to be the greatest of damage dealers inside the meta. She's more about the pick potential, more about the setup. I'm not saying it's bad damage. It's just you're not going to have Victor damage, right? You're not going to have cannon damage.
You sort of just end up turning yourself into a slightly safer Twisted Fate. That's the way I sort of see it. You sort of move up, you sort of roam around, try and find a charm onto someone, and then have someone else do the main brunt of the damage for you. Which, Twisted Fate is a pretty decent champion, but
I like Twisted Fate.
If you're definitely safer, but you don't have that ability to just pop up out of nowhere with your Destiny Gate, which it makes you feel a little bit worse and makes you wonder why not just pick Twisted Fate. He's not that bad right now.
Twisted Fate's strong. It's that there are bad matchups in the meta all over the place. So that's one disastrous byproduct of Twisted Fate at the moment, is that there's too many champions that beat him. And Ahri doesn't have losing matchups. Ahri has not winning matchups, but does not have losing matchups is the one benefit to Ahri. Not to mention the mobility, the Spirit Rush, being able to set that up with charms and things like that gives you a degree of kind of unpredictability that Twisted Fate doesn't get to match with gold cards and such, which is why, yes, Rapid Fire can get you an amazing ability to set up a play. You actually have pretty good damage on Twisted Fate when it comes to top end stuff, especially with Rod of Ages. But we're going to be done talking about Twisted Fate because right now we actually have a battle around the dragon. This might be our first actual full team fight. I feel like we haven't gotten one of these really all series long, as neither team has really gone to objectives all at once. And great from Sunmer as well. That's going to be a play onto slows. No cleanse come through. Sunmer with a big ult into the backline. It's going to be able to do a ton of damage. Zodiac is going to be able to pull slows through the other side of the fight. And now everybody on box is running. Tomrio was able to find 1 Kratos. Artifact both trying to go forward as fast as possible. Zodiac is going to get caught up by the Everfrost. Is it quite going to go down? There it is. And he's going to be able to grab the second rocket, as that's going to be a big fight win for Team Secret.
Yeah, some are able to do a lot of damage in a spread, but isn't able to actually single out and take anyone down. See that damage, it's pretty impressive, but Slows was just singled out immediately and removed from the fight. Beautiful angle from Kratos, using that flash all out effectively. And we just see here, Summon kind of in a decent spot, but it kind of a rough situation where he can't really get the angle he really wants onto Eddie. And Kratos was in a much better spot, could just walk past everyone else and push Aphelios through a wall, and that's a big win for MBE. They get a huge amount of kills onto Eddie, and this might have broken the game for Team Secret. Still only 1,000 gold, so definitely not game losing. No. But it sets you up to sort of say maybe we start to see them stutter from here.
I mean, there were a ton of things that worked out super well for Box in that fight. Again, Sunmer's ultimate to the backline was insane. You're still not on super hyper late game Victor, and Victor was doing a lot of damage. Like, Nugu was actually doing quite a bit. I think he did the most in that fight, even despite Sunmer's amazing ultimate. The problem was Slows. Honestly, not to like pick on Slows too much, I think the cleanse could have been used a few seconds earlier, and he could have flashed out the back of the fight and then continued fighting the front to back. But like, didn't really get much actually accomplished because, again, was just a little slow on that draw, not suspecting that Kratos was going to flash Ultim or something along those lines. And that's why Slows ended up not contributing to that fight in the slice. Actually did half the damage that his support did during that one because he just got CC'd to death more than anything else, which was a bit of a fault of his own. But understanding that, Slows now has to be ready to go inside of these other fights. You got Gale Force, you got Flash. Use your defensive tools. Use everything you can. You stay alive in a fight like that, and it feels like maybe Box Esports actually ends up winning that one, especially after how much damage was dealt by your two mages.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, nice move from Team Secret. They get up back on the map very quickly. They get to this Rift Herald. Sanrio was sort of poking around, but MBE just wasn't able to collapse. It did sort of force that teleport out of Artifact, but they're going to take this trade pretty happily, it seems. They get first brick. They don't even have to use the Rift Herald for it. Gold traded, though. So Victor's getting closer and closer towards being a very relevant threat. Picks up a Banshee's Veil pretty much from nothing. So we're sitting on a decent amount of gold. And I guess we're just sort of having to wait for the next big team fight, because neither of these teams have really been seeking out picks. We haven't seen the jungle and supports linking up at all to try and make something happen, find an angle onto a side lane, or even onto the AD carries in the mid lane. So we're just, I guess, vibing and waiting. They're going to hold onto this Rift Herald until they can drop it for some pressure in the mid lane. They found a spot where Aphelios is backed. There it is. And that's going to give them so much pressure to set up for Dragon and Baron.
It will. See if they can actually defend against the second charge of the Rift Herald, because right now Kennen is gone. Right now Victor is gone on a side lane. They're playing 1-3-1 on Box Esports, and being down gold, it doesn't let you do that. Are they just going to be... Okay, that was an immediate cleanse. That's an attempted play coming out here. Moonlight Vigil into the backline trying to try something. Infernum Ultimate doesn't actually get that much. Sunmer was trying to find a wraparound. It's not going to be found on a ward anytime soon. He's able to get a massive ultimate once again. Sunmer, insane. Drawn out of the fight by Kratos, who's going to be able to bring him down because he just has so much damage in this enhanced form. Now Tomio jumps back. They're going to be able to get healed for Slows as they take 1 for 2. 2 broken mid towers as well. That's just an insane amount of value that Team Secret just got.
Where was Slows going? He saw him drop it in mid lane and was running around the jungle doing nothing.
He teleported in with the Hex Gate and then was trying to... I don't know what he was doing from there because I wasn't watching at that point, but that's what
I guess if you teleport him from the Hex Gate, that puts you on the side of Wolves, and that means if you can't just walk straight through towards mid lane. You have to walk the long way around, so don't
Why even take the Hex Gate? Yeah, why even take the Hex Gate at that point? Maybe thinking that he had more space to work with, but clearly a mistake.
An excited Jinx or Rift Herald? No, you can't do that. Just disaster.
No, it's not the
cost
play.
Them so much.
And again, that's another fight that Slows, again, is just a bit off in that it's a bit difficult. We have a lot of really good ADCs, so Slows is a rookie and is very, very kind of green compared to a lot of the people that we have inside of this league. I think outside of Slows, I would have to check it really quick to make sure that I'm saying this properly. You think like Slater's on this board, Puddin's on this board is the other really young one, and then of course Eddie, you've got Vit, you've got Shogun, you've got Style, you got Artemis. A lot of these people have been around for literally years playing this game inside of the VCS. As mid lane, there's a bit of a push. Eddie almost actually does get destroyed. I misspoke slightly ahead of time. Kratos ults to try to get out of this one as Tomio fancies himself another fight. They're going to run it Baron now because they have the opening for it. Bottom tower probably gets taken. Dragon probably gets taken. But that's a big win from Box that they're able to get a big shutdown onto the Jinx, which went onto Nugu as well. And the Baron would probably equalize the gold. At minimum, it would allow them to push some structures down to equalize gold, if nothing else.
Cyclone is up, though.
Yes, it's a big potential from Kiang. Zodiac actually finds a really great hook. Ultimate goes down, knocks up Artifact. Now another big ultimate comes in from Slows to find some additional. And Sunmer finally gets an insane ultimate that does something. Feels like it's actually winning the fight for the side of Box Esports. They're able to stun up Kiang. Kiang has to flash to get out. see if they continue on the chase. Sunmer looks for something, is not going to be able to find it, and now they're drawn off the Baron, which is unfortunate because it felt like they had their angle. No one died. Good play from Team Secret to be able to pull off Box Esports.
That was a really nice setup for MBE. It's just so the Sunmer went a bit too far around to try and find that flank angle and came in a little bit late, and that just means somehow everybody survives on the side of Team Secret, and it just feels like it just falls flat. That should have been MBE's way back into the game. It should have broken it open, given them a nice big gold lead off a team fight. Maybe they could turn that straight back into the Baron. In the end, you force a couple of flashes at the expense of Sunmer's, and that just feels bad. That just feels really bad.
It does. Like I said, that felt like it could have been so much bigger. Sunmer were able to hit like the biggest ultimate in the world. There was no follow-up though from the rest of the team as well, which is a really big issue. Really and truthfully, the end result of this is that bottom tower got traded for a massive shutdown onto Jinx, which honestly, I think will end up being the benefit. I think Box Esports did end up winning on the play because of that fact. I mean, you can see the gold lead is basically cut in half from where it was seconds ago, and the victor was the beneficiary of it as Tomrio pops the ultimate, is not going to get hit from a distance, is Artifact trying to find him. W comes through Quarter Ranger's going to keep him up. He's going to try to blast him out. Does get out. Ignite's going to go down. Now Zodiac fancies a little bit more of a fight. He does catch up Gang, who goes into the opposite team. He has no other options, as Slows is going to bring him down. And now Baron again. I don't think it's going to be an option. It doesn't look like they're actually raring up for it by any capacity. But they do, again, another big pick, another big kind of win here for Box Esports, who are not falling down in this game. They're down 3K, and they refuse to lose here, Mobby.
Yeah, I thought for a moment Tomrio sent Zodiac to his death with that blast gun, but it didn't, actually. It turns out Kyung was the one who would suffer for Tomrio's sins. He played that really well, managed to space extremely nicely with that Crescent Guard. Now the jugglers are back up onto the map, so
don't touch the
can't
minions.
really commit to too much.
Okay, good.
Kill the minions.
Yeah, Nugu is the one that needs to kill minions. Nugu is very close to Rabadons. I don't know why it is that he went from Banshees direct into full Rabadons, but you know what? I'm all here for it. As Nugu has been, to me, when it boils down to everything kind of finishing up, bot lane not dying over and over again, and Nugu being just like MVP performance caliber mid laner right here, has really made all the world of difference for Box Esports over the last 2 series that they've played to try to get themselves back into some kind of competitive position. I know talking about the playoff run is fun, but honestly, the fact that they are just winning games is good enough for me, because they will not go down in history as the worst VCS team. I thought that was the case before they even took victories. Even if they went 0-14 over the course of the split, it feels like this team wouldn't have been able to be considered the worst of all time here in the VCS, and now they have definitive proof of that.
Yeah, being able to grab some pretty significant wins, because the win list would have just been absolutely depressing. But now they have to contend with a completed Infinity Edge for the Jinx. They're still trying to put together some gold. I'm not quite sure how much Slows is sitting on. Nugu should be backing for his Rabadons right now, and that's a pretty significant item spike. And considering Artifact can't quite match up to that, you're sort of looking at Eddie versus Nugu. Those are your big carries, and Slows should be just fine to pump out what damage he can. As will Artifact, doing a decent amount of damage with that Shadow Flame now complete. So just gonna have to sort of figure out how they want to play out these fights. As it is, can they keep Kratos away from isolating Nugu and sort of dragging him out of the fight, or even dragging out Slows? You just kind of have to hope the all out is a little bit underwhelming if you're MBE.
Yeah, I think the other aspect of this game that I'm really looking at right now is Sunmer has landed some nasty ultimates in the backline, and while it hasn't always led to a bunch of kills being converted, it has been really, really great to watch. As on Baron is Team Secret. Team Secret's going to get approached right now, as Zodiac is going to be able to catch them in the middle of the act. Can they get close enough? Sunmer basically is going to have to run in. They walk right into Artifact, who throws up. Now they're looking for the fight. That's going to be a hook, big play potentially coming through. Moonlight Vigil also tags a number of members. There's nobody left here for the fight, though, as that's going to be a big play onto Zodiac. Do we get anything else? Sunmer quite on the ultimate. I want to see them go for this. I almost want to see them take the full fight, because I feel like they could win it. But the Baron buff instead just goes to the side of Team Secret. The trade-off is going to be the Dragon, maybe? Maybe Boxy Sports could kind of poke them in. I want to see them beeline it because Sunmer's on another flank angle. Drag them in. Don't let them base race you because they're just going to push up mid lane. They're just going to beat you down. They should have already been on the Dragon taking this right now. Team Secret somehow get baited into contesting for this, and I'm so curious how they actually got them to do this. And here's Sunmer into the back line. He's going to try to find something. Does get 3 members. Gets ulted out by Kratos, who's going to be able to do quite a bit. But now Slows has an angle to maybe go up a bunch of damage. There's Tommy picking up the first one. Nugu on the other side, picking up a little bit more. And now Team Secret down one of their main important members is not going to fall, will not be able to contest the Dragon, will be looking instead for towers alongside the Baron, but at least something back for Box Esports.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting for the side of Box Esports. They played it out. It's really important they were able to actually get away with a kill there, and especially onto the jungler that let them pick up the Dragon. Because as you sort of said, they sort of played the bait out pretty badly. They stopped in that entrance push to river, and that sort of gave Team Secret the ability to send all their squishies around through the top side, which made Summoner's job infinitely harder to set up. It's kind of just Kyung walking back in very silly, with a very silly decision that gives it over to the side of MBE. And of course, Team Secret were in a decent spot for health, but couldn't actually really contest because we had Zodiac respawning and making his way back down. But just small mistakes from Kyung, from MBE even, sort of bouncing these mistakes back and forth and giving each other opportunities to capitalize. It's still 3,000 gold for the side of Team Secret. They are still sitting on a Baron and can continue breaking these towers. And with the even split on Dragons, that's not really a win condition for MBE to sort of fall back on, and they just have to keep trying to find the angles, but their teamfight setups have not been ideal so far.
Most of this advantage actually sits within Eddie compared to Slows, which is a big difference inside of this, is that your ADC is doing so well. No Infinity Edge still done for Aphelios, which will be the break point that I think and Box Esports is really looking for to try to close this game. Being down 3k, being down the Baron buff right now, especially with top tower being pushed out as far as it is, if they don't lose an inhibitor tower, I would call that a massive win for Box Esports, because the damage just isn't done that is necessary. 10 seconds. This is the last wave. If they can hold this one more wave, they're done. Yeah, that's it. But Team Secret can't actually crack the base of Box Esports. That means we're walking into the 30-minute territory now, Mobby, with nothing done on the map. Like, no bases cracked, no massive victory. 3k gold advantage is a lot, but it's not insurmountable by any standard at this point in the game. Again, getting any amount of extra CS at a Slows, be able to pick up 3, basically once Infinity Edge is done at that point, it's going to be a lot easier for this team to play, because I think that's the damage spike you're looking for on the Aphelios to really kind of close this gap against the Jinx.
Yeah.
Whew.
Pick up that Infinity Edge, pick up maybe get a Void stuff going, a Blighting Jewel at the very least onto Nugu, so you can actually try and do something about this Cassante and this Leona. Because frankly, that Locket, that's the word. That's what it's called. Nobody builds it. Build it more. It's a good item, but it's going to provide a bunch of resistances to everybody on the team, and which is going to make even that single Mountain Drake actually a pretty healthy pickup for the side of Team Secret, and they're going to be very happy with that. There's a Blasting Wand, which is probably the wrong place to start. Look at that gold. That is so much gold onto Eddie. He's 2,000 gold ahead of Slows, but I guess on the plus side, you've got Nugu sitting pretty comfortably ahead of Artifact, and the top lane is pretty close, so it's not the worst situation for the side of for MBE, as you were saying. But yeah, we're just sort of seeing how they're setting up the fights. The momentum feels so in favor of for the side of Team Secret that they just can't quite. It doesn't seem that they can figure out where to put Summoner. They can't find the flanks they really want. If they can't, the one time they found a really nice Summoner on, Kratos came back with a better one and took Slows out of the fight. Then after that, it's just Summoner hasn't really had that angle he's really wanted. He's been a bit too far away from the actual point of contention and had to really commit the flash rocket belts just to close the distance. And it's not giving him ideal setups. and they
I want
really
to see if
need
it's
that triple threat to split off Kratos.
Yeah, there's the Zonias. I was wondering if it was going to be Cosmic Drive here, so that Sunmer could try to hit some abilities ahead of time, get some move speed going, then pop the ultimate, or ulti, and then get enough ticks that like the Cosmic Drive kind of pops, and then end up running onto Eddie. But honestly, the way that Sunmer's played it, I think is perfectly fine because Eddie's been driven out of at least the last couple team fights because Sunmer has split it in half more or less, and that means that if Slows and Nugu are on your side of the fight against the tanks like Kratos and Chang and Zhu Hao, any of those, they get caught out in the Kennen ultimate, then you win the fight ahead of time because then it's basically just Eddie and Artifact versus the rest of the team once things are kind of all broken up, which is what happened around that dragon a few minutes ago. Now next dragon is going to be spawned once again. Very, very heavy control here from the side of Team Secret. They should be able to grab this one with ease, as there's no way for Box to breach the position right here and right now. There is a Baron up, and they could walk a Baron. In fact, that is exactly what Box is going to be doing. They're looking for the book play right here, as you might call it, and they are going to get it. That's not contested. That is, you could say it's contested because Zhu Hao's here. That is not contested unless he flips it and ends up grabbing it with an ultimate.
Rocket?
Dead.
Nope. Not even going to try the rocket. That's
do we base race here? Is the question. I've been waiting for it. Too many teams to posture this all season long. I want somebody to do it, and it looks like they might. Jinx is running direct up mid lane. They're going to be able to crack that. Nugu is back, so they're going to be able to deny it, and now Jinx is going to be able to stay here, as that should be an inhibitor tower down. They've got way too big of a wave and way too much damage, and they're too far back. They waited just a second too long. That's going to be a teleport from Nugu coming in on top of this as well. All 5 members.
5v5. Wait for something to land. Zhu Hao looking. There it goes.
Big ultimate. There we go. Tamriel on the front line has to pop the ultimate just to get away, try to find any sort of escape. There's Kratos popping into multiple members. That's a big ultimate from Sunmer to be able to get now Slows and Nugu in the backline have to put out the damage. They have to be able to get through this entire front line.
Jinx.
Let's see if it happens. Kratos gets into the backline with that ultimate to be able to do something. Can they kill him before he ends up doing too much? Now Artifact is able to hit a big charm, and that is a one fight from Team Secret. The front to back not working out effectively for Box Esports. They cannot get through the line, and I think that's going to be game. It's unfortunate. I thought Box had the angle, but they just simply did not have the damage to get through this front line, and instead Team Secret are the ones that walk away with a win.
Yeah, the front line is too beefy. The pullback, they pulled Sunmer even into the middle of the fight, and he just couldn't do a damn thing. Eddie untouched, and the dream is dead. The dream was dead before it started for MBE, but Team Secret, they're feeling really relieved because that got a little bit spicy there.
Yeah, to me, it was just Slows getting pulled out by Kratos, who actually had an amazing game on the Cassante, pulling everybody out as much as possible. Also was the reason that it got split in the first place, because I believe it was the Kennen and the Xin Zhao that got knocked forward with it was like a flash EQ that knocked both of them over the wall or close to the wall that split that fight in the first place. So the insane gameplay from Kratos on this Cassante, I think, really did help. And again, splitting that team fight in half was helpful because Nugu and Slows had damage, but just not enough to get through the front line fast enough to match what was going down from Team Secret. Again, it's just that's the Team Secret way, is just set up Eddie and let him play front to back. And when he gets it, you can see why he's definitely helping out quite a bit on his team.
Yeah, he was able to actually just punch out so much damage in that game 2 fight, but they sort of tried to ran back that strategy from game 1. Get a late game carry for Eddie, put a big wall in front of him, and let him do his thing. It's working extremely well. It worked extremely well, at least against Box Esports, which now actually kind of means something. They put up a good fight. It almost looked like they could bring it together, but I think still just nerves getting to this team. Tamriel stepping very far forward, and then not willing to just say, okay, I've been chunked to half health. We need to leave, and flashing out. As you see, it was very much Team Secret control. But look at that graph. It was a roller coaster.
It was a bit of a roller coaster. Look at the damage too. I mean, look at that. It was Jinx, Eddie, despite being ahead by an absurd amount of gold, wasn't even doing what Sumner had insane ultimates over the course of that game. You saw Nugu had some really good damage over the course. It was probably just a very slim distance from being able to solo carry the game on his lonesome. Slows even had some solid damage. Much more. It was just, again, getting through this line whatsoever was so hard here for the side of Box Esports, whose playoff run is now officially dead, one game into the attempted Cinderella run, which is unfortunate. But that is not to say that they cannot be a menace on the back half of the split, because again, a win like this against Team Secret, but then they also play, I think, Flash, I think they play Saigon Buffalo, I think they play SPTCE, like teams that are competing for these playoff spots, teams that are competing to stay out of relegations are playing this squad. And I would not want to. Box, if they keep playing like this, are going to be a legitimate menace on the back half of the split. It's not going to be as easy as saying, oh, this is the bottom team, we're going to beat them no matter what. It's not quite that simple anymore.
Yeah, playoffs might be dead for Box Esports, but they still have the opportunity to torpedo someone else and drag them down into the abyss of an early off season. So yeah, like all things said and done, it's still nice to see MBE actually getting sort of positions where they can win games, can get close to closing out series. And it's a big step up. It makes them exciting to talk about instead of, oh my god, another Box series, which is great.
That was kind of
love that.
It is. And for Team Secret, I think this was an absolutely necessary win, because if you look at the rest of their schedule, they play Flash tomorrow, who is a team that's tied with them in the standings, and that's already a 50-50 coin flip matchup. End of the week, they play GAM, then they play Wales, then they play Cerberus. The end of the split could end very poorly for Team Secret if they are not careful. So if they had lost to Box here, their split might have been over and they might have been in relegations, like almost immediately. So the fact that they fought back, I know it was a very close fought game. It was not the prettiest of games, or not the prettiest of series, at least from the side of Team Secret. But at minimum, they keep themselves alive. A win tomorrow over Flash as well would go a very long distance to keeping them inside the VCS without having to worry about a relegation tournament or anything like that. Because then they'd be up, depending on Team Flash's performance in our next series of the day, by the way. Nice little plug opportunity there. But if Team Flash ends up losing the series and then they lose to Team Secrets tomorrow, then they're going to be down 2 series. Flash is going to have a bit of a tiebreaker over top of them. Then Team Secrets probably latched into a position where maybe they're not in playoffs, but at minimum, they're not in relegations anymore.
Yeah, it's... So if Flash lose to SPTC, if Flash lose to Secret, they kind of are they need to grab that one over to Box Esports to set that tiebreaker against Secret. So yeah, it's the back end of the split. Everything's important.
And the thing is that, like, Flash also plays Saigon Buffalo, who are trying to make a playoff run. So, like, that's not going to be an easy opponent to run into. They have to play against Box Esports, who has been playing out of their minds. They're much better than their record would indicate. And they also play against Team Wales, another team that's right in the thick of it for playoffs. So, like, you're not running into teams that are, you're not running into a snoozing GAM or even, like, a Cerberus, who are, like, so far up there in the standings that it doesn't matter anymore. Box might be the only opponent that you might catch sleeping, because now there's no way for them to get back in. But otherwise, again, the Team Secret and the Flash kind of matchup tomorrow is going to determine so much of where those two teams are going to land for the split, because both of them are right at that relegation level. One way or another, we'll be into that. That was a great series. Team Secret able to kind of eke out a victory over top of Box Esports at the last minute with some superior team fighting. As we're going to get ready, about a half an hour break, something like that, and maybe a little bit less than that, before Team Flash will take on SPTC Esports. Again, really, really big playoff implications, really big end of split ramifications, because SPTCE, a big victory would put them in a solid place over top of Wales, and a loss puts them right there in the thick of it with Wales and Saigon Buffalo. So we'll be back in just a little while. Hang around. We'll see you again soon.